Chapter 1433. Look! What's that? A young man exclaimed. What are you shouting for? We'll be discovered if you continue like this. Can you bear the responsibility for disrupting our plan? An old man snorted with a gloomy face. Yes, elder. I was wrong. The young man lowered his head and admitted his mistake. However, he insisted. There's really something. Something really flew across the sky like lightning. Something flew across the sky? Are you sure? The other old men frowned. Could it be that the people from the Black Dragon sect had returned? This time, they were planning to launch a sneak attack while the Black Dragon sect's leader and other experts were away. If the experts from the Black Dragon sect returned, their plan would fail. Hence, everyone's face turned solemn. Zhao Ping cultivates eye techniques. Although his cultivation isn't the best, he should be able to see things correctly. This time, Venerable Green Lotus also spoke. He was the leader of this operation. Hence, when Venerable Green Lotus spoke, the others fell silent. Zhao Ping, tell me, what exactly did you see? Was it from the Black Dragon sect? Elder, I didn't see it clearly. I only saw a flash of light. However, from the aura, it didn't seem like it was from the Black Dragon sect. Oh? Even you didn't see it clearly? Venerable Green Lotus was surprised. He knew that Zhao Ping cultivated an eye technique. His eyesight was extremely accurate. In this aspect, he was not inferior to the old men. In fact, he was even stronger. However, at this moment, even he did not see it clearly. It was unbelievable. Where did that thing go? Venerable Green Lotus thought of a possibility and asked quickly. It's the Black Dragon sect's headquarters. Venerable Green Lotus gasped when he heard that. His expression was uncertain as if he was thinking about something. At this moment, Crown Prince Heavenly Flame asked in a deep voice. Elder, is there something wrong? Other than the Martial Alliance, only the Black Dragon sect has such means. However, that thing doesn't belong to the Martial Alliance. I'm afraid it doesn't belong to the Black Dragon sect either. However, there should be another expert from the Tianen region. You're talking about the mysterious expert who killed the 8 Hall Masters and the 4 Great Protectors? Infinite Tyrant said coldly. Yes, that's right. It's him. Venerable Green Lotus nodded. In the next moment, everyone was shocked and their eyes widened. What? Could it really be that mysterious expert? Is he going to attack the headquarters of the Black Dragon cult? Everyone was extremely shocked. Originally, with the number of people they had, even if they wanted to break through the defensive formation outside the Black Dragon sect, it would still take a very long time. But now, if a mysterious expert came, their efficiency would be greatly increased. Let's go and take a look. Venerable Green Lotus pondered for a moment, and finally said in a deep voice. Then, he waved his hand and led the group carefully toward the mountain range in front of them. On the other side, Lin Xian, the Crimson Dragon, Murong Qingqing, and Luo Bingshan were riding on a spirit boat and flying quickly ahead. Master, up ahead is the headquarters of the Black Dragon cult. Luo Bingshan looked down at the mountain range and quickly reported. Have we arrived? Hearing this, Lin Xian woke up from his cultivation and opened his eyes to look below. The Black Dragon cult is ruthless and cruel. In the past few years of their rise, they have caused great suffering in the Tianen region. It's time to get rid of this evil cult. Lin Xian said coldly. That's easy. Watch me. The Crimson Dragon also looked down. Is this the nest of the dragon? How extravagant. The Crimson Dragon rolled his eyes and then shouted down. Listen up, your Black Dragon cult leader is dead. Hurry up and open the gate. Kneel down and wait for your punishment. Otherwise, when we attack, you'll be dead. This voice was like a clap of thunder that quickly spread to the people below. Instantly, everyone within a radius of 10,000 miles heard it. The formation of the Black Dragon cult below trembled and produced a rumbling sound. Search! 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 In an instant, countless martial artists in black robes rushed out of the countless palaces and pavilions in the mountain range in front of them. They all looked up at the sky with cold expressions. Who is it? How dare you cause trouble in our black dragon cult? You're courting death. Hurry up and come here to die. I can leave your corpses intact. Otherwise, if you anger the black dragon cult, we'll kill all of you. Countless black dragon cult martial artists looked up at the sky and shouted coldly. To be honest, in their opinion, the other party was too arrogant. How dare he cause trouble above the black dragon cult? This was something that had never happened before. Even the Martial Alliance did not dare to be so arrogant. The people of the Martial Alliance below also stopped and looked up at the sky. It's really that mysterious expert. Elder, should we attack? Someone asked. Venerable Green Lotus shook his head. No need. Let's wait and see. Humph, a bunch of ants. Your cult leader is dead, and you still dare to be so arrogant? Do you believe that Ben Huang will kill you with a slap? At this moment, the Crimson Dragon snorted coldly again. What? The Black Dragon cult leader is dead? Hearing this, everyone was stunned. The people of the Martial Alliance were also shocked. They widened their eyes and could not believe it. The disciples of the Black Dragon cult were stunned at first, then they laughed out loud. Ha ha ha, idiot. Do you know what you're saying? Our cult leader is a king. No one can compare to him in this world. How dare you say he's dead? What a joke! How dare you curse our cult leader? Kneel down and accept your death. The group of people shouted arrogantly. They did not believe that their cult leader would be killed. Even Venerable Blue Lotus and the Crown Prince were frowning. What did he say? The Black Dragon cult leader is dead? How is that possible? The group of people shook their heads. The Black Dragon cult leader was a king. They could only look up to him. How could such a person be killed? Crown Prince Heavenly Flame sneered. Humph, what expert. I think he's just a braggart. How dare he say that the Black Dragon cult leader is dead? Does he know what the Black Dragon cult leader's cultivation is? Not to mention the disciples of the Black Dragon cult, even the people of the Martial Alliance could not believe it. Perhaps no one in the entire Tianan region would believe that the Black Dragon cult leader was killed. Sigh, what a bunch of ignorant people. On the spiritual vessel, the Crimson Dragon shook his head and sighed. Lin Xian also frowned. Since they're so stubborn, let's just do it. Nine-tailed Blast opened the defensive formation below. Nine-tailed Fox was sleeping in Murong Qingqing's arms. When she heard Lin Xian's words, she opened her eyes reluctantly. Ever since Tian recognized him as his master, his cultivation had returned to the King realm. At this moment, he shook his tails gently. On one of his tails, a red arm appeared and quickly reached down. Chapter 1434. An arm that was thousands of meters long fell from the sky like the palm of a demon. Boom! In the next moment, the red arm slammed into the defensive array below, causing an earth-shattering explosion. The entire mountain range, within a radius of 1,000 miles, began to tremble violently. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The earth trembled, and countless cracks spread out in all directions like the mouth of an abyss. At this moment, everyone was terrified. Block it! You must block it! Countless experts in the Black Dragon sect shouted angrily. More people quickly activated the array to defend. Their scalps went numb, and they were shocked. They did not expect the other party to be so powerful that a slap could almost break through the defensive array. In the distant mountain range, Venerable Green Lotus, Prince Heavenly Flame, and the others widened their eyes in disbelief. What kind of technique was that? How could it be so terrifying? What was going on with that 1,000-meter-long arm? It was as if a god had stretched out his arm from the sky. It was too terrifying. Rumble! Rumble! Crack! 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 Under everyone's shocked gaze, the arm smashed through the defensive array and headed towards the Black Dragon sect. Suddenly, several mountains were shattered and gravel flew everywhere. The earth sank as if there was an earthquake. Retreat! Retreat quickly! Venerable Green Lotus, Prince Heavenly Flame, and Ba Wuji quickly retreated. This was because the place where they were originally standing had suddenly cracked open. The entire ground was overturned and ruptured, forming a ruin. This was only the periphery. In the center of the mountain range, the entire Black Dragon sect was completely destroyed. Hundreds of mountains were razed to the ground, and the Black Dragon Hall in the center was penetrated by a slap. The ground caved in for 10,000 meters. The disciples of the demonic sect were even more miserable. They did not have the chance to escape from the slap. In an instant, their bodies exploded and turned into blood mist. The earth caved in and huge rocks flew everywhere. The blood mist filled the air, and the pungent smell of blood instantly spread. When the blood-red palm disappeared, the entire Black Dragon sect was razed to the ground. Not only that, but there was a bottomless abyss on the ground. It was as if it was connected to the 9 nether hell and emitted a cold aura. Most of the Black Dragon cult martial artists had been killed by that palm strike. However, a small portion of them had managed to escape this calamity. However, at this moment, he was also lying on the ground. His body was constantly twitching, and his face was abnormally pale. Fear, deep fear. That palm just now was too terrifying. It was like a palm that could destroy the world. In an instant, the entire Black Dragon cult was completely destroyed. This kind of technique was too terrifying. They had never seen it before. Perhaps even the left and right messengers would not be able to use it. Only their Black Dragon religious leader was capable of such a feat. However, the other party was also able to do so. This meant that the other party's strength was definitely extremely powerful. At the very least, it exceeded their understanding. It was very likely that he was the legendary king. Could it be that the hierarch is really dead? Seeing this scene, everyone felt despair. They now believed that the Black Dragon leader had really been killed. Otherwise, the other party wouldn't have dared to directly attack their headquarters. In the distance, Reverend Green Lotus, Prince Heavenly Flame, Infinite Tyrant, and the others were shocked and their scalps went numb. They looked at the ruins in front of them with terrified expressions. What kind of technique was this? With just a slap, the Black Dragon sect and the entire mountain range were destroyed. This technique was too terrifying. A king! The other party must be a king! Otherwise, it's impossible for him to have such a technique. The group of elders had terrified looks on their faces. Venerable Green Lotus also took a deep breath. From the looks of it, the Black Dragon religious leader might really have been killed. Thinking of this, they gasped and their scalps went numb. They could not believe it. That was a peerless, ferocious person who had shaken the entire southern heaven region. But he had been killed. This was a shocking event. Look, someone is coming down! At this moment, the disciple called Zhao Ping pointed to the sky and exclaimed, "That's right, it's that thing. Just now, it streaked across the sky." Hearing this, Reverend Green Lotus, Prince Heavenly Flame, and the others looked forward with rapt attention. In the next moment, they saw a huge spiritual boat descending rapidly from the Sky Palace. However, the spiritual boat did not land. Instead, it stopped when it was 100 meters above the ground. Then, several figures came down from the spiritual boat like lightning and instantly appeared on the ground. These people were also floating in the air because there was no ground in front of them. It was a bottomless abyss. These people were naturally Lin Xian and the others. Luo Bingshan frowned and looked into the distance coldly. "Who is it? Come out!" In fact, it was not only him. Lin Xian, Mu Qingqing, and the others also felt that there was a strong aura in the distance, and there were quite a few of them. They did not know who it was, but if it was the Black Dragon religious leader, they would not let it go. "Oh no, we've been discovered!" Reverend Green Lotus, Prince Heavenly Flame, and the others turned pale. This was because the cold snort in front of them had exploded in their ears. Obviously, they had been discovered. Get out. Since they had destroyed the Black Dragon religious leader, they should not be evil people. Reverend Green Lotus took a deep breath and quickly flew out. He shouted, "Don't do anything. We are not from the Black Dragon religious leader." Seeing Reverend Green Lotus appear, The others also took a deep breath and quickly followed behind. Then, nearly 50 to 60 martial artists all rose into the air and appeared in the sky. Master? Luo Bingshan looked at Lin Xian with a questioning look in her eyes. However, her hand was still holding the long saber at her waist. As long as Lin Xian gave the order, she would definitely take action. However, Lin Xian shook his head slightly. He looked at the people in the distance, and revealed a surprised look. Don't do anything. They are not from the Black Dragon religious leader. In front, Reverend Green Lotus, Bao Wuji, Prince Heavenly Flame, and the others were flying carefully. Soon, they saw the scene in front of them. In the void, there were 4 figures floating. The one in front was a young man in his 20s. He was tall and handsome. He wore a green shirt and there was a snow-white monkey on his shoulder. Beside the young man was a red snake. It stood in the void and bared its fangs and claws. It was a strange sight. On the other side of the young man was a lady in purple. She was beautiful like a fairy. In her arms was a furry little fox. It had 9 tails. Beside her was a mysterious lady in a black robe. She wore a golden mask on her face that shone coldly under the sun. The man and the 2 ladies were all in their 20s. They were very young. What? Reverend Green Lotus and the others were shocked. They did not expect the other party to be so young. That's not right. Why are they so young? Could it be that they were not the ones who attacked? Chapter 1435. Not only Venerable Green Lotus, but everyone in the Martial Alliance was also suspicious. They did not believe that such a young man could be a challenger. One had to know that this was something that was simply impossible. However, when they looked at the cultivation of the other party, they were shocked. Their faces turned pale and many of them even trembled. Terrifying, extremely terrifying. Everyone's aura was as deep as the abyss, unfathomable. Especially the red snake at the side, it had an aura that made their hearts palpitate. Who are these people? They felt numb and did not dare to act rashly. We're not from the Black Dragon sect. We're from the Martial Alliance. We're here to ambush the Black Dragon sect. Venerable Green Lotus took a deep breath and explained quickly. He did not want to be misunderstood. If the other party attacked, they would have no chance of survival. I know. Don't worry. Venerable Green Lotus, Prince Heavenly Flame, Infinite Tyrant, long time no see. Where's Zhou Jianying? Why don't I see her? Xian said calmly. Venerable Green Lotus, Prince Heavenly Flame, and Infinite Tyrant were shocked. They could not believe it. They did not expect the other party to know him. In the next moment, the 3 of them raised their heads and looked ahead carefully. Then, their heads exploded. You are? It's you! Everyone was shocked. They were too frightened previously and did not notice the other party's appearance. Now that they took a closer look, the young man in front of them was looking at them with a smile. It's you, Lin Xian! It's you! Prince Heavenly Flame screamed in shock. As for the people behind him, they all looked at each other in dismay. Many of them even revealed puzzled expressions. What's going on? Does Prince Heavenly Flame know the person in front? Bao Wuji sucked in a breath of cold air. His eyes widened in disbelief. Venerable Green Lotus's body began to tremble. Lin Xian? Who is he? Elder, do you know him? The others asked. Venerable Green Lotus sighed. He's Lin Xian. He's from the Tianan region. What? He's from the Tianan region? Everyone was shocked. They could not believe it. Since when did such a powerful figure appear in their Tianan region? At this moment, Venerable Green Lotus continued. He was the champion of the previous Azure Dragon Association, but after that, he left the Heavenly South region. I didn't expect it to appear again. What? He was the champion of the previous Azure Dragon Society. Everyone cried out in surprise. Soon after, many people recalled something. Right, that's right, it's him, it's really him. I saw him at the Azure Dragon Society last time, but I didn't think it would really be him. Among these Martial League members, A small portion of them had survived back then, while most of them had risen in recent years. Therefore, although most people did not recognize Lin Xian, a small number of people recognized him after being reminded by Elder Green Lotus. Immediately, these people cried out in surprise. Soon, they learned of Lin Xian's experience. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air as they stared ahead in disbelief. Lin Xian, is the Black Dragon Hierarch really dead? At this moment, Elder Green Lotus asked again. To be honest, he could not believe this news. After all, the Black Dragon Hierarch was an extremely terrifying existence. He had to be sure. Yes, he's dead. I killed him. Lin Xian nodded. What? You killed him? Everyone's jaws dropped. They were all shocked by this news. This was too King shocking. A 20-year-old young man had actually killed the overlord of the Tianan region. Everyone swallowed their saliva. Even Overlord Wuji asked in a trembling voice, Lin Xian, are you already a king? Lin Xian shook his head. Not yet, but killing a king is not difficult. Everyone's mind went blank. They only wanted to vomit blood. Killing a king was not difficult? Why did it sound like a dream? Forget it, I won't ask any more. I don't want my heart to be unable to take it. Everyone shook their heads. On the other hand, Lin Xian ordered Luo Beishan to cripple all the surviving Black Dragon Hierarch martial artists' cultivation. Luo Bingshan nodded. Then, she waved her arm. Countless rays of saber light flew out from her fingertips. They quickly spread out in all directions and sank into the bodies of the Black Dragon Hierarch martial artists. Instantly, screams of agony rang out. In an instant, those who were still alive had their cultivation crippled. Lin Xian did not kill them. However, crippling their cultivation could prevent them from doing evil in the future. The Black Dragon Hierarch's base camp has been destroyed. I guess there are still some remaining forces in other places. I'll leave the rest to the Martial Alliance. Lin Xian turned around again and looked at Venerable Green Lotus. Don't worry. We'll definitely take care of the rest. Venerable Green Lotus nodded quickly. They were already at odds with the Black Dragon Hierarch. Even if Lin Xian did not say anything, they would do their best to gather people and eliminate the Black Dragon Hierarch in other places. Now that they had Lin Xian's help, it was like adding wings to a tiger. Lin Xian pondered for a moment before speaking again in a deep voice. The Tianan region has been plunged into misery and suffering for a long time. I don't want anything similar to happen again. As he spoke, Lin Xian exuded a terrifying aura. It was as though a divine sword had been unsheathed. It was extremely sharp. Furthermore, the Xia country is my hometown. I don't want anything to happen to it in the future. As for the demonic abyss, there are no more subdivine gems in it. There's no need to waste time looking for them. I hope that the Martial Alliance can lead the Tianan region and build a prosperous world. However, I don't want you to become another Black Dragon Hierarch. Although Lin Xian did not have any obvious intention of threatening them, Venerable Green Lotus and the rest were still trembling in fear. That was because the aura was too terrifying. It was as though a god was looking down on them. Don't worry. We won't become the second Black Dragon Hierarch. Venerable Green Lotus shook his head immediately. Lin Xian nodded and retracted his aura. He did not stay there any longer. Instead, he turned around and flew away with Murong Qingqing and the rest onto the spiritual boat in the sky. Then, the spiritual boat shone and turned into a bolt of lightning, leaving the place in an instant. Venerable Green Lotus and the rest only heaved a sigh of relief after Lin Xian and the rest had left for a long time. Then they slumped onto the ground. Terrifying. It's too terrifying. The group of seniors turned pale. Has he become so powerful? Crown Prince Heavenly Flame's body was also trembling slightly. He did not expect that someone whose strength was similar to his back then would grow to such a level in just a few years. He could only look up to him. Overlord Wuji sighed as well. His heart was filled with helplessness. Venerable Green Lotus took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, Remember what I said today. Don't become the second Black Dragon Hierarch. Otherwise, our doomsday will come. Everyone nodded heavily and did not dare to act rashly. They had no choice. The scene of the Black Dragon Hierarch being annihilated was too terrifying. They would probably never forget it for the rest of their lives. Don't go to the Devil Abyss. According to what we know now, those who haven't reached the King Realm will only be courting death. Instead of angering Lin Xian, why don't we withdraw all of our people from the Xia country? Got it. I'll do it as soon as I return. Also, immediately mobilize all of our forces and launch a counterattack. We must eliminate the remaining forces of the Black Dragon Hierarch. It's time for the Black Dragon Hierarch to become history. Chapter 1436. Lin Xian and the rest easily annihilated the Black Dragon Sect's headquarters and quickly returned. The Black Dragon Sect leader had been killed. Not only that, the entire Black Dragon Sect's left and right envoys, 4 great protectors, and 8 great hall masters had all been killed. It could be said that the Black Dragon Sect's elites were all gone. There was no need for him to worry about the rest. With the Martial Alliance's strength, they could definitely eliminate them. Therefore, Lin Xian's thoughts were no longer on the Tianan region. He was prepared to return to the Tianwu continent. Firstly, he wanted to see if his father had come out of seclusion. Secondly, he wanted to get rid of the Duan clan. Otherwise, he would not be at ease moving the Lin clan's clansmen to the Tianwu continent. Soon, Lin Xian and the rest returned to the Black Earth. This time, Lin Xian's main purpose was to instruct He Tu to take good care of old Master Lin and the rest of the Lin clan. Little Xian, don't worry. We're very safe here. Moreover, this place is very suitable for cultivation, Old Master Lin said with a smile. Yes, we'll wait for your safe return, Second Uncle Lin said with a smile. Next, Lin Xian left behind some natural treasures. He even took out a lot of old-time tea for old Master Lin and the rest to consume. After everything was arranged properly, he brought Murong Qingqing, Falling Ice Mountain, and the Crimson Dragon onto the spirit boat and quickly left the Xia country. This time, his departure was similar to when he came. However, his cultivation had undergone a drastic change. Other than that, there were some additional things. There was a 9-tailed fox, and he took 30 subdivine crystals with him. As for the rest, he left them all on the Black Earth. According to his calculations, to return to the Tianwu continent, they would have to cross the endless ocean. This would take more than half a year. Therefore, Lin Xian and the rest began to cultivate as soon as they arrived. Although Lin Xian now had the King Realm, he did not relax. After all, his cultivation was not at the King Realm. He had to raise his cultivation to the King Realm as soon as possible. Only then would his strength increase. Lin Xian didn't need subdivinity crystals to improve his cultivation base. Therefore, Lin Xian quickly circulated the longevity incantation to cultivate. At the same time, he was also multitasking, cultivating the Furious Dragon Mantra and the Heavenly Divination Visualization Chart. Of these 2 techniques, one cultivated the body while the other cultivated the soul. They could turn him into an all-round expert. Not only that, but Lin Xian also spent a lot of time and effort researching the king's domain. After all, this was his main source of energy in the future. Now, his horizons were much broader than before, and he knew that there were 9 great realms. Above the King Realm, there were still saints and the legendary Great Emperor. The King Realm cultivated domains, whereas, at the Saint Realm, one cultivated a world, and one was able to establish a minor world that was independent of a large world. Lin Xian knew that the small world was evolved from the domain. Therefore, Lin Xian tried to throw his various martial spirits into the Dragon Sword domain to evolve. Just like that, time passed little by little. At the same time, the situation in the Tianwu continent was also changing. Primeval forest, deep in the canyon. The heavenly netherbird laughed wildly again. There were only 2 astral chains left on its body. It seemed that it wouldn't be long before the restrictions on the astral chains were completely broken. At that time, it would become a peerless beast once again. Ha ha! There are only 2 left! Brat Lin, just you wait! One day, I'll tear you apart with my own hands. A ferocious voice rang out from the depths of the canyon, as if a demon was roaring. No one knew about the heavenly Netherbird's change, because it had hidden it too well. However, another gust of wind blew across the Tianwu continent. The good situation that Lin Xian had built up earlier had collapsed in an instant. The alliance that had been built with the longevity pill and old-time tea had collapsed in an instant. Many people had left Lin Xian's side and joined the Duan family. It could be said that the situation in the Palace of Gods of War had become extremely tense and dangerous. Fortunately, Wang Li, Yu Fei, Dong Fangxiong and the others had already left. They had long since retreated to the Immortal Martial Academy and weren't in any danger. However, their businesses had suffered a serious blow. There was only one reason for this change: the Duan family's patriarch had come out of seclusion. Not only that, but he had also successfully entered the king realm and became a king. A king realm was an extremely powerful existence. There weren't many of them in the Tianwu continent. Every one of them was a powerhouse who stood at the pinnacle of the continent. Now, there was another king realm expert. This was something that hadn't happened in the Tianwu continent for thousands of years. Because the Duan family's patriarch had become a king realm expert, the situation in the Tianwu continent had changed dramatically. No matter how magical the longevity pill was, it couldn't compare to the threat of a king realm expert. Now, who would dare to ally with Lin Xian's side? That would be courting death. Lin Xian hadn't appeared in the Tianwu continent for a long time. No one knew where he had gone. There were even rumors that he had left the Tianwu continent. On the Palace of Gods of War's side, Lin Zhan was still in seclusion. Therefore, the entire Palace of Gods of War had lost its backbone. The rest of the people couldn't withstand the fury of a king realm expert. Especially when the Duan family's patriarch found out that his grandson, Prince Ling Feng, had been killed, he was extremely furious. Therefore, the first thing he did after coming out of seclusion was to issue a kill order. He swore that he would capture Lin Xian and tear him into pieces. For a time, the world was in an uproar. Because this was the fury of a king realm expert. Millions of corpses would fall and blood would flow for thousands of miles. Immediately, many people started to worry for Lin Xian. However, the Duan family's allies sneered. They had long found Lin Xian an eyesore. Now that they saw him being hunted, they were naturally happy. On the other hand, the Palace of Gods of War and Senmu College were worried. Fortunately, they were slightly relieved that Lin Xian wasn't in the Tianwu continent at the moment. Therefore, the kill order was useless for the time being. However, the matter of the Duan family's patriarch becoming a king realm expert was more troublesome. Because the current Duan family could no longer be compared to before. It was a true house of kings. Therefore, in just 3 days, the Palace of Gods of War changed owners again. Those people from before were directly beaten out, and the Duan family directly moved in and became the new owners. This time, the Duan family's patriarch personally took action, so the Palace of Gods of War suffered heavy losses. Many elders and experts died. Fortunately, Senmu College acted in time and saved most of them. Otherwise, the Palace of Gods of War's losses would have been even more tragic. Damn it, really damn it! The remaining forces of the Palace of Gods of War all retreated to Senmu College. Among them, the 9th elder and the 10th elder were so angry that they vomited blood. They had no choice. They really didn't expect the Duan family's patriarch to break through and become a true king realm expert. They had no power to fight back at all. Chapter 1437. Now, even if Senmu College starts a war with him, I'm afraid we won't be able to do anything to him. Din Xian shook his head slightly. After all, the strength of a true king was too terrifying. Unless Lin Zhan comes out of seclusion. But now, I don't know when he will come out of seclusion. The group of people shook their heads and sighed. The elders of War God Red were even more worried. This was because the current situation was simply too terrible. We are not worried about the palace master. That array is very terrifying. Even a king can't break it. However, we are very worried about the young master. Those people from the Duan family have given the kill order. Now, many experts are frantically looking for the young master. Although they can't find him now, if the young master doesn't know the situation when he comes back, he will definitely be discovered. If the young master is in any danger, then we are really finished. The ninth elder and the others were anxious. They decided to secretly look for Lin Xian. At least, they had to send the news out. The rise of the Duan family's patriarch caused a change in the Tianwu continent. Not only that, he first gave the kill order and went all out to hunt down Lin Xian. Not long after, he released another piece of news. It was naturally a celebration. The Duan family's patriarch had become a king. This was a major event that shook the world. Naturally, everyone would be gathered. Firstly, it was to display the Duan family's strength. Secondly, it was to redistribute the benefits. Although there were many factions and countries in the Tianwu continent, behind them stood the powerful families. In other words, the House of Kings was the overlord of the Tianwu continent. In the past, the structure of the Tianwu continent had already been formed. It had not changed for thousands of years. However, it was different now. A new king had appeared, and the Duan family naturally became the House of Kings. Naturally, they wanted a share of the pie. In fact, the Duan family's thinking was very simple. They wanted to replace the Palace of Gods of War and become the true overlord. As for the resources of the Palace of Gods of War, they naturally wanted to replace them. However, in recent years, the Palace of Gods of War had consumed a lot of resources due to internal strife. Therefore, this time, they wanted to take back everything that they had lost in the past. This banquet could be said to be the most prestigious one in the past 1,000 years. This banquet did not just invite the elders of the sixth-rank sections. He was a true king. At that time, the Murong family, the Shen family, Senmu College, and the Merry Forest House of Kings would all come. It could be said that being able to attend the Duan clan's banquet represented a certain level of strength. Of course, the Duan clan's patriarch had another idea, and that was to form an alliance. It didn't mean that one wouldn't have enemies after becoming a king. Furthermore, he was a new king. His strength was naturally weaker than those old king-level kings. More importantly, Lin Zhan was still alive. This was his greatest enemy. If the other party came out of seclusion, then he would be his greatest enemy. Therefore, he had to form an alliance in advance and find good helpers to deal with future changes. It would be best if they could join forces during the banquet and directly destroy the place where the other party was in seclusion. Kill Lin Zhan. This news swept through the entire Sky Martial continent like a hurricane. For a time, all the major forces quickly took action. Not only that, the action of the Duan clan did not end. Firstly, they were wantonly hunting down Lin Xian's tracks. As long as they found him, they would immediately kill him. Secondly, those forces that had a good relationship with Lin Xian in the past were all suppressed. Even the deity sword Villa was suppressed. This was because in front of a king, the powerful deity sword Villa and sword supremacy were unable to resist. Senmu College's forces were also affected to a certain extent. Fortunately, Senmu College was a king's force after all. With a king suppressing them, the Duan clan did not dare to go too far. However, their small actions were continuous. However, just as the situation was changing, a spirit boat flew over from the sea. This spirit boat was very fast and had been flying at an extremely high altitude. Therefore, when it entered the Sky Martial continent, no one noticed it. This spirit boat was naturally Lin Xian's. When they entered the Sky Martial continent, everyone opened their eyes. We're finally back. Murong Qingqing looked at the familiar mountains and rivers below and smiled. Even the nine-tailed fox in her arms looked down curiously. So powerful! I can feel several powerful forces here. Are they all kings? It shrank its head. It did not expect that there would be such experts on the Sky Martial continent. Their aura surpassed it. Not only that, the spiritual qi on this continent was even denser, which surprised it. One had to know that it could cultivate now, so the spiritual qi here was very important to it. Yes, we're back. I wonder what changes have happened here? Lin Xian also looked down at the mountains and rivers below, his eyes shining. Kid, where are we going first? The Crimson Dragon asked. Let's go back to Senmu College first. Lin Xian thought for a moment, then said slowly. Then, the group accelerated and flew in the direction of Senmu College. The Sky Martial continent was very vast. It was several times larger than the Tianan region, so the journey was very long. It would probably take more than a month. Therefore, Lin Xian went into seclusion again. However, the Crimson Dragon, the Nine-Tailed Fox, and the Snow-White Monkey did not go into seclusion. Among them, the Crimson Dragon was sleeping on one side, while the Nine-Tailed Fox was curiously looking down. After all, this place was a new world for it. But soon, it frowned and kept grinding its teeth. Because with its King Soul power, it could naturally hear the discussions below. Therefore, along the way, it found many people looking around with cold expressions, as if they were looking for something. And from those people's words, it kept hearing the name Lin Xian. Lin Xian? Could it be someone with the same name? The Nine-Tailed Fox did not understand why these people were looking for Lin Xian. So, it went to ask the Crimson Dragon and the Snow-White Monkey. After hearing that, the Crimson Dragon said lazily, There must be someone with the same name. But if you want to talk about the famous Lin Xian in the continent, you can only use the one in front of you. Why are you asking this? Now that they were familiar with each other, there was no longer the hostility from before. I saw a lot of people down there, trying to capture Lin Xian. The Nine-Tailed Fox spread its little paws. Is he some kind of fugitive? Why are there so many people trying to capture him? What? There's such a thing? Let me see. The Crimson Dragon jumped up and looked down. To be honest, it did not believe that such a thing would happen. After all, Lin Xian was the young master of the Palace of Ares. How could he be wanted? Unless something unexpected had happened here. Sure enough, the Crimson Dragon found the same thing. On the mountains and rivers below, countless warriors were asking for Lin Xian's whereabouts. Damn! What's going on? Chapter 1438. To be honest, the Crimson Dragon could not believe that something like this would happen. One must know that Lin Xian was the young master of the Palace of Ares. His status was very high. How could he be wanted by someone? Unless something unexpected had happened here. As expected, the Crimson Dragon found the same situation. Below the mountains and rivers, countless warriors were asking for Lin Xian's whereabouts. Damn! What's going on? The Crimson Dragon knew that something had happened. He quickly knocked on Lin Xian's door and told him the situation. After hearing this, Lin Xian also looked around. His face immediately darkened. Kid, what's going on? It wasn't like this when we left. It's only been 2 or 3 years. How could there be such a huge change? The Crimson Dragon asked. The Duan clan! Lin Xian's expression was cold. He did not need to think to know that it was the Duan clan's doing. Because in the Tianwu continent, only the Duan clan dared to go against him. But before he left, the Duan clan had already suffered heavy losses. The entire clan even went into seclusion. But he did not expect that the other party would be so high profile and pursue him. Something unexpected must have happened. Lin Xian's eyes flashed. Since the other party dares to be so arrogant, it means that they are not afraid of our alliance. Damn it, could it be that the Duan clan's patriarch? Lin Xian suddenly thought of a possibility. His face darkened. Once this thought came to mind, Lin Xian could not sit still. Because if this was true, it would be terrible. His alliance would definitely collapse in an instant. Not only that, the Palace of Ares would also be in danger. Rosalong, quickly go down and catch a few people for me. Lin Xian's voice was urgent. Even Murong Qingqing and Luo Bingshan came out to ask. When they learned of the situation, their expressions were grave. You mean to say that the Duan clan's patriarch succeeded? That's right. There's probably only one possibility as to why the Duan clan dares to be so arrogant. Other than that, I can't think of any other possibilities. Lin Xian shook his head slightly. It can't be, right? If the Duan family's old ancestor really succeeds, then this will be the most shocking event in the Tianwu continent in the past few thousand years. Murong Qingqing's expression was also grave. She naturally knew the serious consequences of this matter. Perhaps the entire martial heaven continent's situation would change. Soon, the dark red divine dragon returned and brought 2 warriors with him. These 2 martial artists were the ones who had been searching below, but they had been suddenly beaten senseless and brought to the surface. Now that they were woken up by the dark red dragon, they immediately shouted arrogantly, "You're courting death! How dare you kidnap us? Do you know who we are? We're from the Duan clan. If you offend us, you'll have to bear the consequences." Aya, this attitude is very arrogant. It's almost the same as the Black Dragon sect. Didn't your Duan clan hole up a few years ago? Why are you running out and being so arrogant now? The Crimson Dragon asked coldly. The 2 people still did not understand their situation and looked at the Crimson Dragon as if he was an idiot. You must be new here, right? You don't even know our Duan clan? Listen up, our Duan clan is the new House of Kings. We're the overlords of this continent. Hurry up and let us go, kneel down and kowtow. Otherwise, if you anger our Duan clan, you'll definitely regret it for the rest of your life. What, the new House of Kings? Hearing this, Lin Xian's face darkened. Murong Qingqing and Luo Bingshan were also greatly shocked. They knew that things were as they had guessed. The Duan clan's old ancestor had really become a House of Kings. You're saying that the Duan clan's old ancestor has become a House of Kings? When did this happen? Lin Xian asked coldly. How dare you? How dare you say the name of our old ancestor? The man shouted coldly. But in the next moment, he was stunned. Soon, a look of shock appeared in his eyes. He pointed at Lin Xian and trembled all over. It's you! You're that Lin Xian. They had portraits in their hands, and Lin Xian was the person they wanted to capture, so they knew him very well. But they did not expect him to appear at this time. It's really you? Ha ha! Kid, you're dead meat. How dare you provoke our Duan clan? This time, no one can save you. Hurry up and kneel down and come back with us obediently. Maybe we can keep your corpse intact. Otherwise, everyone related to you will be killed. The 2 people roared crazily with arrogant expressions. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Then, with a wave of his hand, the 2 people's legs were immediately broken with a crack. In the next moment, the 2 people knelt on the ground. Large beads of sweat flowed from their heads. You're courting death. How dare you hurt us? You're dead meat. The 2 people were still roaring crazily, but in the next moment, a strong hand grabbed their heads. Very soon, the 2 people felt a piercing pain in their souls. Their eyes rolled back and they lost consciousness. Lin Xian used the soul-searching skill and directly collected their souls. Then, he snorted coldly. 2 balls of black fire floated out from his body and burned the 2 people to ashes. Since they were enemies, Lin Xian would not show mercy. How is it? Murong Qingqing asked from the side. The Duan clan's patriarch really became a challenger. And he just became a challenger a few months ago. At this point, Lin Xian's expression became extremely cold. Damn it, how dare you massacre the people of the Palace of Ares? He found out everything that had happened in the past few months from the 2 people's souls. When he found out that the Duan clan's patriarch had ordered to kill him and everyone related to him, Lin Xian's expression became extremely cold. Especially when he found out that the Palace of Ares was once again heavily damaged and had no choice but to retreat, Lin Xian exuded an extremely terrifying killing intent. He did not expect that the Duan clan's patriarch would dare to attack the Palace of Ares. This made him extremely angry. Old dog of the Duan clan, since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Then, he quickly controlled the spirit boat and flew towards the Palace of Ares. Instantly, the entire spirit boat exploded with an extremely bright light. It turned into a bolt of lightning and instantly streaked across the sky. It was as if a sharp sword had sliced through the void. In the Tianwu continent, the Duan clan's banquet was getting closer and closer. The entire Tianwu continent was bustling with activity. Not only that, the Duan clan had also gained a lot recently. As they were frantically searching for Lin Xian, the ninth elder, and the rest were very worried. Hence, they secretly came out to search for Lin Xian. Unexpectedly, they were discovered by the Duan clan and immediately arrested and sent back to the palace of Ares. When the Duan clan's patriarch and the martial supremacy found out, they sneered sinisterly. They decided that they would kill the ninth elder and the people of the palace of Ares on the spot during the meeting. He wanted everyone to know the consequences of going against the Duan clan. Chapter 1439. Duan Family, Palace of War Gods. Ever since the news of the Duan family's ancestor becoming a king spread, the various forces in Tianwu continent began to take action. Today, it was still very close to the Duan family's banquet, and many people had already arrived. It had to be said that the banquet this time was of a very high level. It was absolutely terrifying. The entire palace of war gods was filled with martial experts. These people walked like dragons and tigers, and their auras were dense. They could be said to be the elites of Tianwu continent. Those forces that had been relying on the Duan family were extremely happy because this time, they could also rise in status and obtain great benefits. Those forces that had been neutral also wanted to join the Duan family, this new house of kings. They might even be put in an important position. Of course, when the Duan family was mentioned, the Palace of War Gods and Lin Xian had to be mentioned. Because just a few years ago, Lin Xian had personally killed Prince Ling Feng, who was the future hope of the Duan family. This could be said to be an irreconcilable hatred. Furthermore, when the Duan family's ancestor came out of seclusion, he issued a kill order and swore to kill Lin Xian. However, after such a long time, there was still no trace of Lin Xian. This shocked everyone. Some people even guessed that Lin Xian was no longer in Tianwu continent. Otherwise, with the Duan family's current strength and prestige, it was impossible for them to not find him. Don't worry. As long as that kid is here, he will definitely come. Because at this Duan family's banquet, they will publicly kill many elders of the Palace of War Gods. Yeah, I heard about it too. I'm afraid the Duan family's goal is to lure Lin Xian out. No matter what the outcome is, that Lin Xian is finished. He will definitely be killed if he shows up. However, if he doesn't show up, he will definitely become a coward and be despised by everyone. Yeah, this Lin Xian can be considered unlucky. 2 or 3 years ago, his name shook Tianwu continent and could be said to be one of the top geniuses of the younger generation. With his strength alone, the entire Duan family couldn't raise their heads. But who would have thought that in a short 2 or 3 years, the situation would change so drastically? That's because the Duan clan's old ancestor is so powerful that he was able to break through and become a king. This is something that has never happened in the Sky Martial continent for thousands of years. In the cities near the Palace of Ares, there were warriors discussing similar topics everywhere. Now, everyone respected the Duan clan. No one cared about Lin Xian and the remaining forces of the Palace of Ares. The Palace of Gods of War was majestic and domineering. Countless palaces covered the mountains. It was surrounded by spiritual mountains and immortal grass. Between the towering mountains and precipitous ridges, countless pavilions were arranged like stars. Although the internal strife over the years had caused the Palace of Ares to expend quite a bit of its strength, there was still no one who could shake this colossus. And the region it occupied was one of the most fertile regions in the Sky Martial continent. At this moment, all the experts of the Martial Heaven continent were gathering the war god art. Whether it was the older generation's experts or the younger generation's geniuses, they were all gathered. In fact, the kings of the various king clans would also appear at the final banquet. It could be said that this was a scene that made countless people excited. After all, it was rare to see a king tier in ordinary times, but this time, there would be 5 king tiers. Looking at this grand scene, the Duan clan's ancestor was very happy. He did not appear, but sent out martial honors and the younger generation's disciples to welcome them. They had to use the highest standards to invite everyone in. He waited quietly for the arrival of the other 4 kings. And outside, in the mountains, it was even more lively. Countless young warriors were walking, exchanging pointers, chatting and laughing, drinking wine. The atmosphere was very jubilant. At this moment, a cry of surprise was heard. "Look, young Master Anil is here!" It was unknown who shouted, but immediately everyone stopped in their tracks and raised their heads to look forward. The 4 young masters of the martial heaven continent, Prince Ling Feng, young Master Anil, young Master Qilin, and young Master Treading Moon. These were the top 4 of the younger generation. However, Prince Ling Feng had already been killed by Lin Xian. So now, in the Sky Martial continent, there were only 3 young masters left. And this merry forest's young Master Anil was one of them. Sure enough, in the next moment, the crowd dispersed, and a youth in white slowly walked over. He held a folding fan in his hand, and his expression was very confident. Around him, there were a few elders. Their auras were very powerful, and when their gazes moved, even the void trembled slightly. Young Master Anil's arrival immediately caused a group of warriors to be excited, and they all surrounded young Master Anil. That scene was very spectacular. Indeed, these people were originally the heroes of the younger generation, but ever since young Master Anil arrived, it was as if everyone's radiance had disappeared. And young Master Anil became the only one in everyone's eyes. Everyone, no need to be so reserved. Just act as usual." Young Master Anil gently waved his folding fan and said with a smile. Different from Prince Ling Feng's arrogance, young Master Anil's face always had a smile, and his mood was very confident. He did not seem to have any arrogance. This also allowed everyone to let out a slight sigh of relief. At least the other party did not put on an overbearing appearance. But at this moment, someone exclaimed, "Look, it's young Master Qilin!" Everyone was shocked again, and they all turned their heads. At the back, another group of people walked over. The person in front was tall and straight, with a handsome face and a powerful aura. He was not any weaker than young Master Anil. He was the Shen family's young Master Qilin. This young Master Qilin's temper was not as good as young Master Anil's. His face was always incomparably cold, with a trace of arrogance. He did not put the surrounding people in his eyes. Looking at him, his character was somewhat similar to that of the deceased Prince Ling Feng. "Brother Shen, long time no see." Young Master Anil waved his folding fan, looked at young Master Qilin, and said with a smile, "Humph, don't play dumb with me. Last time, you snatched 3 of my spirit veins. How do you want to settle this debt?" Young Master Qilin showed an overbearing aura the moment he came up. Even when facing young Master Anil, he did not back down. "Brother Shen's words are wrong. Those 3 spirit veins were originally discovered by my merry woods. How can it be said that I snatched them from your hands?" Young Master Anil said with a smile. "Stop talking nonsense. No matter what you say, this matter will not end like this. After this banquet, I want to ask you for advice. I want to see what kind of breakthrough your cultivation has recently. You actually dare to touch the things that I want. All right, if you want to exchange pointers, then I will naturally accompany you." Young Master Anil was still smiling, but his eyes had a trace of sharpness. Seeing 2 young masters whose names shook the continent competing, the other martial artists did not dare to speak and could only listen quietly. They were very clear about this kind of matter. Although both of them were top prodigies, the family forces that they represented were not the same. It was normal for there to be friction between them. However, they did not expect that young Master Qilin would actually want to fight with young Master Anil. Needless to say, this would be another fierce battle. Brother Murong, you also came?" Chapter 1440. Seeing the 2 famous young masters fighting, the other warriors did not dare to speak. They could only listen quietly. They understood the situation very well. Although the two of them were top prodigies, they represented different families. It was normal for there to be friction between them. However, they did not expect young Master Qilin to want to fight with young Master Anil. Needless to say, it would be another fierce battle. Brother Murong, you're here too? Young Master Anil ignored young Master Qilin and looked behind him again. Brother Murong? Everyone's hearts trembled, and a trace of shock appeared in their eyes. To be addressed by young Master Anil like that, he must not be an ordinary person. Moreover, they had already guessed who he was. Young Master Moonwalker! That's right, young Master Moonwalker of the Murong family was also one of the 4 young masters of Tianwu. Young Master Moonwalker wore a black robe. His face was calm. He was neither arrogant nor smiling. It was as if nothing in the world could move him. He slowly walked over and greeted young Master Anil and young Master Qilin. Suddenly, the surrounding atmosphere changed. Although the 3 young masters did not speak, the surrounding air seemed to have condensed. It became abnormally heavy. As for the surrounding warriors, their expressions changed drastically as they quietly retreated. They had no choice. Although the 3 of them did not deliberately release their aura, that kind of terror was not something the surrounding warriors could withstand. I didn't expect the 3 of you to come so quickly. Please forgive me for not being a good host. At this moment, a laugh broke the heavy atmosphere. Everyone turned their heads and saw a young man walking over. The man was handsome and wore a golden battle suit. He looked mighty and extraordinary. It's him, Duan Yu! Someone exclaimed. Duan Yu? Who is he? What a powerful aura! Is he also a disciple of the Duan family? Everyone was shocked. He's Prince Ling Feng's younger brother. Some of them knew the inside story, so they quickly said it. Hearing this, everyone gasped. Prince Ling Feng's younger brother. No wonder he was so powerful. Thinking about it, he should also be a top prodigy. The Duan family is really something. First, there's Prince Ling Feng in the younger generation. Now, there's such a peerless genius. Could it be that the Duan clan is really going to rise? Hearing this, young Master Anil, young Master Treading Moon, and young Master Qilin all turned to look at the golden-armored man and nodded slightly. Indeed, as the disciple of Prince Ling Feng, the other party was not weak. Although he was not as strong as them, he was not far off. It could be said that he was qualified to talk to them. Seeing that the 3 of them nodded, Duan Yu was overjoyed. She then said in a clear voice, "This way, please." He was indeed happy because these 3 people represented an extraordinary position in the younger generation. His brother used to be such a person, but now his brother was dead. If he wanted to replace his brother and regain the position of young Master Tianwu, he would have to gain the recognition of these 3 people. This was also the reason why the Duan clan had sent him out to receive young Master Anil and the other 2. This was because the Duan clan needed to support another young Master Tianwu. Very soon, young Master Anil and the other 2 were asked to leave. The entire scene quieted down for a moment. Everyone looked at the backs of the 3 of them as they left, feeling envious. But very quickly they cried out again because more and more important figures arrived at the Palace of Gods of War. The first elder of the Merry Woods has arrived. The Palace Master of the Divine Bird Palace has arrived. The Guardian Elder of the Shen family has come to visit. One after another, great figures descended from the sky while riding on clouds and mist. They either rode on rare and precious beasts or rode on peerless flying treasures. They were like powerful gods that made people look up to them. Following the arrival of these important figures, the Duan clan also sent out elders to invite them in. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. This was because other than the kings of the House of Kings, almost all the powerful figures had arrived. Such a grand event could be said to be rare in 1,000 years. The Palace of Gods of War was filled with immortal mountains, spiritual springs, and all kinds of rare beasts. The entire place was like a paradise on earth. Among them, there were also countless experts. All kinds of spiritual wine, spiritual fruits, and precious spiritual tea were all placed on the table. It was obvious that the real banquet was about to begin. They knew that it would not begin yet because the kings had not arrived. Not long after, another loud and clear voice sounded. Ancestor Murong has arrived. Instantly, everyone exclaimed and looked up at the sky. In the sky, a purple cloud flew over. It was like a purple aura that came from the east. It had a mysterious color. On top of the cloud, a figure was sitting cross-legged. This was a middle-aged man in purple. He was expressionless, but he had a powerful aura that made everyone's heart beat faster. They could not help but want to kneel down and worship him. Everyone swallowed their saliva. They knew that the real peerless expert had arrived. This was the ancestor of the Murong family, the real king. Greetings, Ancestor Murong. Instantly, everyone cheered at the sky. And this time, from the distant immortal palace, an old figure also flew over. Haha, Cultivator Murong, please come in. It was an old man who flew over from the Palace of Gods. He was tall and had white hair, but his eyes were as sharp as lightning. This was the ancestor of the Duan clan, the new king. The appearance of the two kings pushed the atmosphere of the entire venue to its peak. Instantly, everyone looked up at the sky with excitement. It could not be helped. Kings were the top existences in the continent. Under normal circumstances, they would not be able to see them. But now, they saw two of them at the same time. This was definitely the most unforgettable thing in their lives. Cultivator Duan, congratulations! Ancestor Murong opened his eyes and smiled at Ancestor Duan. Then, he was invited to the main hall of the Palace of Gods of War by Ancestor Duan. But not long after, another voice sounded. The merry forest, the merry king has arrived! The ancestor of the Shin family has arrived! Dean Xian of Senma College is here! Soon, all the kings of the Tianwu continent had arrived. Hearing the voices, Ancestor Duan and Ancestor Murong, who had entered the Palace of Gods of War, came out. In the sky, a divine chariot flashed past like a bolt of lightning. Pulling the chariot were 9 white lions. Each of them was as big as a small mountain. They were mighty and had an aura that made people's hearts tremble. This was an ancient species, the ice snow demon lion. Each of them was extremely precious and could not be bought with money. Moreover, the aura of these ice snow demon lions was very strong. They had even reached the level of a 9-star demon general. They were extremely terrifying. But at this moment, they could only pull the chariot. This was shocking. Sitting in the chariot was naturally the merry king. Chapter 1441. These ice snow demonic lions' auras were extremely powerful. They had even reached the level of a 9-star demon general. It could be said that they were extremely terrifying. However, at this moment, they could only pull the carriage. This was extremely shocking. The one sitting in the carriage was naturally the happy king. 8 beautiful women dressed in colorful clothes accompanied the divine palanquin as it walked. They were like fairies floating in the sky. Soon, the entire carriage was suspended in the sky. 2 of the beautiful women half knelt in the sky and gently pulled open the jade curtains. Then, a figure walked out of the carriage. Seeing this figure, everyone was stunned. This was because the person who walked out of the carriage was a young man of about 16 or 17 years old. His figure was thin, his face was handsome, and his eyes were extremely clear. His entire body carried an ethereal aura, as if he was a fairy child. Who is this? Everyone was puzzled. No way, could he be the happy king? Everyone's eyes widened. They could not believe it. Because in their opinion, since he was a king, he should be a senior figure. However, the figure in the sky was too young. It was obviously a young man. Even Merry Forest's young master Anna looked older than him. For a moment, everyone was bewildered and stunned. As for the 16 or 17-year-old youth in the sky, he lightly snorted and stood with his hands behind his back. Fellowin, it's an honor to meet you. The Duan family's patriarch cupped his fists. On the side, Patriarch Murong shook his head slightly. Old man, you're obviously more than 1,000 years old, but you always like to pretend to be young. Seeing the reactions of the Duan family's patriarch and patriarch Murong, everyone knew that the young man in front of them should be the happy king. However, they were still extremely shocked because this image was too different from the king they had imagined. The happy king snorted coldly. "What do you know? I'm cultivating so that I can stay young forever. You want to look like this? You can't do it." Hearing the happy king's words, Patriarch Murong smiled and shook his head. At this moment, another laugh came from the sky. "What? According to what you're saying, this old man's cultivation has reached the Tao." Another old voice came. This voice contained powerful energy, so much so that everyone's scalp went numb. There was no need to think too much about it. Just by looking at the energy and the tone, one could tell that this person's identity wasn't any weaker than the happy king. Everyone raised their heads and looked at the sky again. Sure enough, another old man appeared in the sky. The old man sat on a huge golden chariot. The golden chariot radiated light like a sun. The ones pulling the carriage were similarly astonishing, 9 flood dragons. Every single one of them was extremely ferocious and carried a powerful aura. They were all 9-star demon generals. As for the old man, he had the demeanor of a transcendent being, as if he had descended from the heavens. The patriarch of the Shin family! That's right, the old man sitting on the golden chariot was none other than the old ancestor of the Shin family. The merry monarch glanced at the patriarch of the Shin family and snorted. "Old man Shin, in my opinion, your Shin family's Heavenfall Tai Ching secret art is really not that good. Why don't you cultivate my Merry Forest Lotus Treasure identification technique? I can guarantee that your strength will increase greatly in a short period of time. You with the surname and don't give me that. Every time we meet you always say that my Shin family's Heavenfall Tai Ching secret art is weak. Whether it's powerful or not, we'll only know after we compete." After saying that, the patriarch of the Shin family snorted and a powerful aura gushed out from his body. This aura was like the abyss of the sea. Once it appeared, the entire void trembled. The martial artists below felt their scalps go numb. Many of them even knelt on the ground and shivered. This was the aura of a king. They could not resist at all. At this moment, the patriarch of the Duan family hurriedly advised. "Both of you, give me some face. Why don't we all go in together and have tea and talk about cultivation?" On the side, Patriarch Murong waved his hand. Suddenly, the martial artists below trembled. They felt that the terrifying aura had disappeared. Immediately, they heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly bowed to the sky. "Thank you, Senior Murong." Patriarch Murong nodded slightly and said, "Old man Shin, don't be like this every time. If you two want to fight, find a place where there's no one. Even if you two turn the world upside down, I won't care. But don't do it here. You'll scare the kids below." "Humph." Hearing that, the patriarch of the Shin family snorted coldly and retracted his aura. Seeing that, the patriarch of the Duan family heaved a sigh of relief. However, in the next moment, he frowned slightly. That was because someone was flying in the sky from afar. It was a spirit boat. It was entirely blue and emitted streams of light. It shone brightly like the stars. A middle-aged man stood on the spirit boat. His face was fair and clean, and his eyes were as deep as the stars. His aura was like the abyss of the sea. It was unfathomable. Behind him stood a dozen old men and a few young disciples. This group of people was the martial artists from Senmu College. The middle-aged man in front was Dean Xian. The patriarch of the Duan family frowned because Senmu College had a very good relationship with the Palace of Aries. They were not on good terms with the Duan family. Although they did not directly attack, they were still on opposite sides. However, this time, he still invited Senmu College. After all, they were a king faction and should not be underestimated. However, he did not expect them to really come. This made him a little suspicious, because he knew that they were definitely not here to congratulate him. It was very likely that they were here for the elders of the Palace of Aries that he had captured. However, when he saw that there were only a dozen elders and a few young disciples behind Dean Xian, he heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Because with just these few people, they would not be able to do anything. One must know that he was now a true king. He would definitely not be afraid of Din Xian. As for the rest, they were no match for the Duan family. It could be said that if they dared to attack, he would definitely retaliate mercilessly. Thinking of this, his lips curled into a smile. Cultivator Xian, I've heard a lot about you. The patriarch of the Duan family narrowed his eyes and said with a smile. No matter how one looked at it, there was a hint of provocation in his expression. At this moment, Patriarch Murong, the happy monarch, and the patriarch of the Shen family also greeted Din Xian. Din Xian responded to them one by one. She did not say anything, but her eyes were incomparably deep. Then, the patriarch of the Duan family invited the kings to the main hall of the palace of Ares. After the kings left, everyone finally heaved a sigh of relief. Then, they all sat on the ground, paralyzed. It could not be helped. It was too terrifying. Even a trace of his aura was not something that they could fight against. This was the power of a king. It was completely above them. This was also why the situation of the Duan family changed drastically when the patriarch of the Duan family became a king. Chapter 1442. The last one to arrive is Senma College's Din Xian, right? I didn't expect him to come, someone asked. Yeah, I heard that Din Xian has always supported the Lin family. I didn't expect him to come to the Duan family's banquet. That's nothing. The Duan family captured many elders from the palace of Ares. Din Xian is probably here to plead on their behalf. Moreover, Lin Xian might appear this time. With Din Xian here, Lin Xian might be able to keep his life. Everyone was discussing and guessing what was going to happen next. Not long after, a low drumming sound could be heard. The sound was long and distant, accompanied by the sound of thunder. Everyone knew that the banquet was about to begin. So in the next moment, everyone rose into the air and flew towards the mountain range in the center. In the mountain range ahead, there was a vast valley. The valley was ethereal and beautiful, with dense spirit chi. Because there were hundreds of precious spirit herbs growing in it, it was called the 100-Herb Valley. The banquet this time was held in the 100-Herb Valley. At this moment, the 100-Herb Valley was already prepared and waiting for everyone to arrive. The valley was huge and could easily accommodate tens of thousands of people. Many warriors entered the 100-Herb Valley and found their seats. If one was careful, they would realize that the furnishings were very particular. It was roughly divided into 5 sections according to the House of Kings. The 5 most dazzling seats were reserved for the 5 kings. Below the throne were the core elders of the House of Kings. They were arranged according to seniority and strength. And among the younger generation, the 4 princes of Tianwu were the most respected. Prince Anil, Prince Qilin, and Prince Moonwalker sat in their respective sections, showing their superior status. From the Duan family's side, although Prince Lingfeng had been killed, they sent out Duan Yu, who was wearing golden armor. He sat in the same position as the other 3 princes of Tianwu. Obviously, the Duan family wanted to turn Duan Yu into another prince of Tianwu. Duan Yu sat there with a confident smile on his face. He was too excited. Previously, with his elder brother, Prince Lingfeng, there was no way he could stand out. But now, Prince Lingfeng had been killed. This was something that he couldn't believe even in his dreams. However, this was also the greatest benefit to him because he would become the next young noble Tianwu. Seeing Duan Yu sitting in the same position as young noble Anil and the others, everyone was shocked. Naturally, they knew what this meant. However, they did not expect that Prince Lingfeng had only been in Hong Kong for a few years, and the Duan family could not wait to create another Prince Tianwu. Young noble Anil, young noble Qilin, and young noble Moonwalker didn't say anything. Even though Duan Yu was weaker than them, there wasn't much of a difference between them. Furthermore, other than Duan Yu, it was unlikely that anyone else could become young Master Tianwu. Furthermore, the ancestor of the Duan clan had just become a king, and the Duan clan had just become a house of kings. There was nothing wrong with letting his disciple become one of the Tianwu young masters. At this time, an elder of the Divine Bird Palace said with a smile, "Young Master Duan Yu may be young, But his talent and strength have already surpassed everyone else. It seems like the next young Master Duan Yu will definitely be the Tianwu Prince. With someone taking the lead, the others naturally began to congratulate him. After Duan Yu heard this, the smile on his face became even wider. His eyes were filled with confidence. He believed that as long as he was given time, he would definitely be able to surpass the previous Prince Ling Feng. However, at this time, a cold snort was heard. Humph, just because young noble Ling Feng is dead, can someone else become young Master Tianwu? Since when did young Master Tianwu become so worthless? Hearing this voice, everyone's expression changed. Many of them even frowned. They wanted to see who it was that dared to speak so arrogantly. However, in the next moment, the voice continued. If it were up to me, if anyone were to choose young Master Tianwu, it would be Lin Xian. Because he killed Prince Ling Feng, his strength is naturally above Prince Ling Feng's. Other than him, I can't think of anyone else who can become the new young Master Tianwu. Boom! When these words were said, everyone was in an uproar. Their heads exploded with a bang. Arrogant, this was too arrogant. Everyone widened their eyes in disbelief. To say such words in such a situation, wasn't this a provocation to the Duan family? Just who was it that was so daring? To actually humiliate the Duan family in public, wasn't this courting death? They were indeed shocked. One had to know that the Duan family was no longer the Duan family of the past. It was the real House of Kings. Now, everyone could not wait to be more careful. Yet someone dared to humiliate the Duan family in such a place. How audacious! Duan Yu's expression immediately darkened. He was like an enraged lion. His gaze was like lightning as he scanned the surroundings. He wasn't the only one. Everyone in the Duan family had gloomy expressions. Especially the patriarch of the Duan family. His gaze froze as a terrifying aura emanated from his body. However, when everyone saw the person who had spoken, they were all stunned. This was because the person who had spoken was none other than a disciple of the Shin family. Shinxiachi, shut up! Young noble Qilin snorted coldly. That's right, the person who had spoken was Shinxiachi. One had to know that he was very grateful to Lin Xian because Lin Xian had previously cured his sister, Xin Jingqiu. It could be said that Lin Xian was their family's great benefactor. Now, he naturally had to step forward and fight for justice for Lin Xian. Hearing young noble Qilin snort, Xin Jingqiu also raised her small face and said seriously, Xiachi is right. At this moment, everyone's gaze was focused on the Shin family. Most of them fell on Shinxiachi and Xin Jingqiu. They naturally knew that Lin Xian had once saved Xin Jingqiu. That was why he was behaving in such a manner. However, this was the Duan family's banquet after all. The patriarch of the Duan family had just become a king. No matter what reason he had, he could not say such things here. Seeing that it was a disciple of the Shin family, and Shin Lingchuan's child, the patriarch of the Duan family did not speak. Instead, he narrowed his eyes. This was because he knew that Shin Lingchuan's status in the Duan family was extraordinary. Moreover, this was a matter between the younger generation. As a king, it was not appropriate for him to intervene. However, Duan Yu did not have such misgivings. He snorted coldly. What right does a piece of trash like Lin Xian have to come to the Tianwu young noble? Humph, if he doesn't have the right, then you do? You have to know that he killed Prince Ling Feng. If it were you, would you be able to do it? Shinxiachi did not hold back and continued to slap his face. Hearing this, the faces of the Duan family disciples darkened. This could be said to be a sore spot for them. One of the Tianwu young nobles, Prince Ling Feng, led almost half of the Duan family's experts to hunt down Lin Xian. In the end, they were killed instead. Not only that, not a single person left alive. Countless experts, including Prince Ling Feng, were all annihilated. This was simply unbelievable. Therefore, this matter became a sore spot for the Duan family. No one dared to mention it again. But he didn't expect that it would be brought up again in front of so many people. This was exposing their Duan family's sore spot. Chapter 1443. Humph! That Lin fellow used despicable means to harm my brother. If it was a real battle, he wouldn't be able to win, Duan Yu said through gritted teeth. He didn't want to linger on this topic, so he glared at Shinshachi fiercely. Since you're not convinced, why don't you come down and spar with me? Let's see if I'm qualified to become young Master Tianwu. With that, a terrifying aura rose from Duan Yu's body. Feeling this aura, everyone's heart raced and their faces were filled with shock. This aura was too powerful. It had already surpassed many older martial artists, and was not much weaker than young Master Anil and the other two. So powerful! No wonder the Duan family wants Duan Yu and young Master Tianwu. I didn't expect him to be so powerful. Yeah, this Duan Yu is younger than Prince Ling Feng by a few years, but his cultivation is infinitely close. I'm afraid in a few years he will surpass Prince Ling Feng. Many people were praising him. At this moment, Shinshachi curled his lips. Humph, how old are you? You're in your 20s, right? How old am I? I'm only 15. You want to spar with me? You're shameless. Someone like you wants to become young Master Tianwu? Have you seen any young Master Tianwu spar with a 15-year-old kid? Shinshachi asked a series of questions with a look of disdain. You! Duan Yu was so angry that he vomited blood. He was so angry that he didn't notice the other party's age. Looking at it now, the other party was indeed only 15 or 16 years old. Indeed, with his status and cultivation, he couldn't possibly spar with such a young man, especially in front of so many people. However, the other party was acting arrogant and provoking. This angered him to the point of puking blood. Since you know you can't challenge me, then shut your mouth, Duan Yu said coldly. Shut my mouth? Why should I shut my mouth? I won't spar, I won't shut my mouth. What can you do to me? Shinshachi rolled his eyes. If you're really capable, then spar with big brother Lin Xian. Let's see if he can slash you in half. Everyone was speechless. Although what Shinshachi said might be true, his attitude was too arrogant. Compete with Lin Xian? How could this be? Didn't they see that the Duan family had been searching for him for so many days and still couldn't find him? Who the hell knew where he had gone? Moreover, no one believed that Lin Xian would come here. One had to know that the Duan family's patriarch was here. Lin Xian was definitely courting death by coming here. Most likely, the other party wouldn't be so foolish. Therefore, it was impossible to find Lin Xian to compete with him. Duan Yu naturally knew this as well, so he sneered. Humph! That Lin guy is just lucky that he didn't meet me. Otherwise, if he dares to come over, I can crush him with one finger. Ha! At the end of his speech, he laughed proudly. Is that so? I'm here. Can you crush me to death with one finger? However, at this moment, a cold voice rang out. Like a sharp sword, it instantly cut through the entire valley. What? Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Who was this? How dare he provoke the Duan family? Duan Yu's laughter also stopped abruptly. His face was flushed red, and his gaze was gloomy as he quickly scanned the surroundings. Who is it? Get out here. At this moment, even young Master Anil, young Master Qilin, and young Master Moonwalker frowned because they didn't realize where the voice came from. However, the Duan family's patriarch's face darkened. His gaze flickered with a cold light. On the side, the Martial Honorable's expression was even more ferocious because he naturally knew who the voice belonged to. Din Xian was also stunned. His expression changed rapidly, and even his hands and his sleeves were clenched tightly. He didn't expect the other party to come. Oh no, I didn't expect things to come to this. Din Xian sighed in his heart and quickly looked up at the sky. At the same time, the other kings also looked up at the sky. As kings, they were extremely powerful, far surpassing the warriors around them. Therefore, they could naturally tell that the voice came from the sky. When the surrounding warriors saw the kings raise their heads to look at the sky, they also raised their heads and looked over in confusion. In the next moment, their mouths were wide open. That was because a shadow suddenly appeared in the sky. It was like a dark cloud that covered the sky. Following that, a figure that was like a mountain descended from the sky quickly. Boom! Soon, the figure landed on the ground. Immediately, the entire valley shook violently as if there was an earthquake. In the center of the valley, countless dust clouds were stirred up, forming a shockwave that slapped the surroundings. Fortunately, the valley was protected by a formation. Otherwise, the entire valley would have collapsed. Everyone's expression changed drastically. They didn't expect the person to be so powerful. Who was so bold as to cause trouble at the Duan family's banquet? For a moment, everyone stretched their necks and looked forward. As for the Duan family warriors, their expressions were even more ferocious as they looked toward the center. When the morning fog dissipated, a figure appeared in front of everyone. What? It's him. No way, am I seeing things? It's actually him. He really came. How dare he come? Everyone's mouths were wide open in disbelief. That was because they saw a young figure standing in the center of the valley. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his gaze was like lightning. His entire body carried a sharp aura, as if he was an unstoppable sword god. Lin Xian, it's actually Lin Xian. In the next moment, countless people screamed. One had to know that Lin Xian was on the kill order of the Duan family's patriarch. It could be said that the situation was very dangerous. However, the other party had appeared so openly. Was he not courting death? Everyone's minds were blank. They couldn't understand what the other party wanted to do. At that moment, countless warriors looked at Lin Xian with puzzled expressions. When Din Xian and the other Senmu College warriors saw Lin Xian, their hearts sank. Oh no, he still came! Dean, what should we do? Should we attack? Many elders asked. They didn't expect Lin Xian to really come. That was probably the worst outcome. That was because the Duan family would not let Lin Xian go. Din Xian also said in a low voice, "Don't worry, I'm here. He'll be fine." Hearing that, the Senmu College warriors breathed a sigh of relief, but their faces were still filled with worry. The Duan family warriors laughed sinisterly. They didn't expect the other party to be so stupid as to walk right into their trap. Ha ha! What an idiot! He actually dared to come. This kid is too arrogant, but he's dead meat this time. How dare he come to the Duan family? This time, he won't be able to leave. That's for sure. The Duan family has long become the House of Kings, and our strength has increased greatly. He dared to kill our warrior. This time, we'll tear him to pieces. The Duan family disciples' expressions were ferocious, and their voices were cold. Wu Zun suddenly stood up and pointed at Lin Xian. He said coldly, "Kid, you dared to kill my Chiner. I'll make you wish you were dead." On the side, Duan Yu also snorted. "Kid, kneel down and accept your death." Chapter 1444. This kid is too arrogant, but he's dead meat this time. How dare he come to my Duan family? This time he won't be able to leave. That's for sure, my Duan family has long become the House of Kings, and our strength has greatly increased. He dared to kill my Duan family's warrior, this time we'll tear him to pieces. The Duan family's disciples looked ferocious, and their voices were cold. Wu Zun suddenly stood up, pointed at Lin Xian, and said coldly, "Kid, you dared to kill my Chiner, I'll make you wish you were dead." On the side, Duan Yu also snorted coldly, "Kid, kneel down and accept your death." Lin Xian's appearance caused a sensation among the crowd. It couldn't be helped, it was too shocking. If Lin Xian appeared at this scene, he would definitely die. But even so, the other party still came. "How dare you! This is King Duan's banquet, it's incomparably sacred. How dare you cause trouble here? Back off!" An elder from Divine Bird Palace stood up and suddenly shouted. Everyone in the world knew the relationship between Lin Xian and the Duan family, and it was irreconcilable. Now Lin Xian dared to come to the Duan family's banquet, he was undoubtedly here to cause trouble. Divine Bird Palace's intention to stand up at this time was obvious, and that was to curry favor with the Duan family. Who do you think you are? How dare you point fingers in front of me? Get lost! Lin Xian glanced at the elder of Divine Bird Palace, and then unceremoniously shouted coldly. You! Hearing Lin Xian's words, the elder of Divine Bird Palace trembled with anger. Junior, you're too presumptuous. How dare you disrespect your elders? Being scolded by a young man in his 20s in front of so many people, the elder of Divine Bird Palace was too ashamed to step down, and his face was livid with anger. Whose elder are you? How dare you flaunt your seniority in front of me? You're courting death! Lin Xian snorted coldly, and his voice was like thunder with terrifying power. Suddenly, the elder of Divine Bird Palace trembled and almost fell down. Not only that, but his ears were bleeding, and his whole person became extremely weak. It was obvious that the sound from earlier had caused him to suffer internal injuries. Not only the elder of the Divine Bird Palace, but everyone felt their hearts tremble. The reason for that was because the energy and killing intent contained within that voice was simply too terrifying. It caused their hearts to palpitate in fear. It was just that Lin Xian deliberately targeted the elder of the Divine Bird Palace, so the other party was seriously injured. However, the others felt their scalps go numb. What kind of method was this? This was too terrifying. A single sound was enough to seriously injure an elder of the Divine Bird Palace. Heavens, this Lin Xian really lives up to his name. No wonder he was able to kill Prince Ling Feng. Yeah, isn't he a little too strong? Everyone was discussing animatedly. They were extremely shocked. On the other side, the Duan clan's ancestor's face became increasingly gloomy. He was naturally able to sense that this young man before him was extraordinary. If he was allowed to continue growing, then he would definitely become the #1 enemy of their Duan clan. He would not allow such a danger to continue growing. Thinking of this, a hint of coldness appeared in the Duan clan's ancestor's eyes. He originally wanted to hunt down Lin Xian, but he could not find him. However, he did not expect that Lin Xian would take the initiative to come knocking on his door today. God was really helping him. For a moment, all eyes were on Lin Xian. However, at this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air came from the sky again. Following that, several figures quickly descended. There's someone else. Everyone was shocked. They did not expect Lin Xian to have helpers. The warriors of the Duan clan became even more nervous. If the other party brought any experts, they must counterattack immediately. However, in the next moment, they were stunned. The people who came were not what they had imagined. 3 figures appeared. One of them was a peerless woman dressed in purple. In her arms was a red little fox with 9 tails. Murong Qingqing! Seeing this woman in purple, everyone exclaimed in surprise. Naturally, they recognized her. This was the goddess whose name shook the continent. Her fame was no less than that of the 4 young masters of the Tianwu continent. The other person was a woman in a black robe and a golden mask. She was as cold as a knife. Her eyes were as sharp as a knife, carrying a biting cold murderous aura. She was Luo Bingshan. Not many people knew her, but no one doubted her strength. The other person was the Crimson Dragon. At this moment, it had already retracted its kingly aura. Furthermore, it did not transform into its divine dragon form. Therefore, it looked like a 1-meter-long snake. The appearance of these 3 caused quite a stir. In particular, the people of the Murong family heaved a sigh of relief. Naturally, they knew that Murong Qingqing had left for 2 to 3 years. However, they did not know where she had gone. Now that they saw her return safely, they could finally put down the stone in their hearts. Patriarch Murong also smiled and nodded in satisfaction. Kid, this is my patriarch's banquet. Are you really going to ruin it? At this moment, an old man from the Duan clan stood up and shouted coldly. His voice was incomparably cold. Kid, this is not a place where you can behave atrociously. The guests this time are the 5 great kings. They are supreme existences. Hurry up and kneel on the ground and admit your sins. Otherwise, the Duan clan will not be polite. It was obvious that the Duan clan was using the great kings to suppress them. Hee, the Duan clan is so mighty. Lin Xian sneered. However, since this is a banquet in Tianwu continent, how can the Palace of Ares be absent? As the young master of the Palace of Ares, I brought a few friends to this banquet. Don't tell me the Duan clan doesn't welcome us? Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing looked around disdainfully. Palace of Ares? Hearing this, everyone had a strange expression. Did the Palace of Ares still exist? However, although everyone thought so, no one said it out loud. Guests from afar. Men, give them a seat! At this moment, the patriarch of the Duan clan suddenly spoke. Although the Duan clan martial artists below were unwilling, they did not dare to go against the patriarch's words. Hence, they quickly arranged some seats for Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing to sit. Qingqing, you guys go sit there first. Lin Xian turned around and said softly. After that, Murong Qingqing, Luo Bing, and the Crimson Dragon went to the seats that had just been vacated. However, Lin Xian did not move and remained standing there. The cultivators of the Duan clan immediately frowned when they saw this scene. Kid, the seats have already been vacated for you. Why aren't you leaving? Are you trying to cause trouble? The patriarch of the Duan clan shouted again. His voice was like thunder that exploded in all directions, carrying a terrifying killing intent. Those are the seats for the guests. It's not a problem for my friends to sit there. However, I'm different. I'm the young master of the Palace of Ares, and this is the territory of the Palace of Ares. You want me to sit in the guest seat? Are you out of your mind? Lin Xian shouted coldly and did not back down. His voice was as cold as a sharp sword. At the end of his sentence, a terrifying aura surged from his body. I'm from the Palace of Ares. Naturally, I have to sit in the main seat. Old dog of the Duan clan, get down here! A loud shout startled everyone. Chapter 1445. Old dog of the Duan family, get down here! His loud roar shook the entire area. As soon as this voice came out, everyone was dumbfounded. They felt their minds go blank, and they immediately exploded. They couldn't believe that a young man in his 20s dared to scold the Duan family's patriarch. Yes, Lin Xian was right. He was the young master of the Palace of Ares, and this was the Palace of Ares. He should have been sitting on the main seat as the owner. But so what? The Palace of Ares no longer belonged to the Lin family. It belonged to the Duan family. And the Duan family's patriarch had broken through and become an overlord. He had become the pinnacle of existence. Who cared if the Palace of Ares belonged to the Lin family or not? And now, Lin Xian dared to scold the overlord? Was he not afraid of death? Therefore, Lin Xian's actions shocked everyone. In their opinion, he was simply courting death. In an instant, the entire valley fell into an extremely tense atmosphere. It was as if a bomb would explode at any time. How dare you! How dare you! Kid, you're courting death! Kneel down and accept your death! A group of people shouted angrily. These people were all martial artists of the Duan family. They were filled with murderous intent as they glared at Lin Xian. The other party actually dared to insult their clan's patriarch. He truly deserved to die 1,000 times over. The Duan family's patriarch's face darkened as he locked his cold gaze on Lin Xian. He could kill Lin Xian with just a flick of his finger. Because he was an overlord. However, right at that moment, he felt another aura firmly locking onto him. That aura seemed to be even stronger than his. The Duan family's patriarch raised his eyebrows and glanced over. Din Xian! He snorted in his heart. That's right. The person staring at him was Senma College's Din Xian. The Duan family's patriarch didn't doubt that Din Xian would do the same if he made a move. Therefore, he only stared coldly at Lin Xian without saying a word. However, that didn't mean that the people below wouldn't do the same. In the Duan family's patriarch's opinion, no matter how powerful Lin Xian was, he was just a young man. He didn't even need to do anything to such a person. The Duan clan's powerhouses had 100 ways to make him suffer a fate worse than death. Sure enough, in the next moment, the martial sovereign also stood up. His cold gaze landed on Lin Xian as he said in an icy voice, "You're that Lin Xian." After a few years, this martial honorable had become even more powerful. He was like a giant beast in the deep abyss, and no one could see through him. However, the aura it emitted had long since surpassed that of a half-stepped king. It was the most terrifying existence beneath the kings. "Which one are you?" Lin Xian asked coldly when he saw the other party's aggressive aura. "You killed my son. Today, I will make you suffer a fate worse than death. I will use your head as a sacrifice to my Chener." Wu Zun's voice was cold. "Duan Chen? I don't know them. I've killed too many people. Do I have to remember the names of every Tom, Dick, and Harry?" Hearing this, the corners of everyone's mouths twitched. Lin Xian didn't know who Duan Chen was, but everyone else did. Duan Chen was Prince Ling Feng's real name. Now, the martial sovereign was going to stand up for his son, Prince Ling Feng. In fact, how could Lin Xian not know? Ever since the martial sovereign stood up, he knew that the other party was going to stand up for Prince Ling Feng. However, he was intentionally using words to attack the other party. When two parties were fighting, they naturally had to attack the other party's aura first. Winning without a fight was the best result. "Little bastard, no matter how eloquent you are, today is the day you die." "That's right. You killed my brother. Today, you will die kneeling." On the other side, Duan Yu also shouted coldly. He was wearing a golden battle armor, and his entire body was shining brightly under the sun. He looked like a god of war. "Which one are you again?" Lin Xian glanced at him and said indifferently, "I'm talking to your Duan family's elders. Is there a place for you to interrupt?" "Quickly slap him." Arrogant, he was too arrogant. Everyone's scalps went numb. They couldn't believe it. After all, Duan Yu was very powerful. He was even qualified to be called Tianwu Prince. However, he was being taught a lesson by Lin Xian. It was like an elder teaching a junior a lesson. Wasn't this a slap to the Duan family's face? You, die. Brat, I'll kill you." As expected, when he heard that, Duan Yu immediately flew into a rage. He strode forward like a mad lion. With every step he took, the entire ground shook. A terrifying golden aura surged out from his body. He was like a god of death. In an instant, he was beside Lin Xian. "What? You want to fight?" Lin Xian sneered with his hands behind his back. He didn't care at all. Seeing this scene, everyone became nervous. They didn't expect something like this to happen just as the banquet started. If they didn't kill Lin Xian, the Duan family's banquet wouldn't be able to continue. As expected, the Duan family had the same idea, so they didn't stop him. At Senmu College, Dean Xian didn't make a move either. Dean Xian's main goal was to keep an eye on the Duan family's patriarch. Moreover, he believed that with Lin Xian's strength, he should be able to handle this situation. As for Murong Qingqing and the others, they were even more relieved. One had to know that Lin Xian had killed the leader of the Black Dragon sect in the Tianan region. That was a true legend. Not to mention Duan Yu in front of them. Therefore, Murong Qingqing, Falling Ice Mountain, and Crimson Dragon were all carefully sipping their spiritual tea. They looked like they were going to watch a good show. "Brat, you're too arrogant. I don't know what tricks you used to harm my brother, but with your strength, I can kill you with one slap." Duan Yu's voice was ferocious. "If you kneel down and apologize to the Duan family now, I'll leave you with an intact corpse. You talk too much. If you want to fight, let's fight." Lin Xian snorted. Suddenly, a fierce aura rose from his body like a peerless divine sword. Even in the sky, countless gusts of wind danced wildly. There were faint sounds of thunder all around. This aura was too terrifying. It was far beyond the others. It had reached the peak of the younger generation. Even young Master Anil and the others were watching with rapt attention. They also wanted to know how strong Lin Xian was to be able to kill Prince Ling Feng. Was it true strength or was it a trick? Among them, young Master Anno waved his folding fan and nodded slightly. Not bad, not bad. Judging from this aura, he's not weaker than us. Young Master Moonwalker did not speak. He only nodded slightly. On the other hand, young Master Qilin snorted disdainfully. Comparable to us? Him? What a joke. I don't know what tricks this brat used to harm Prince Lingfeng. How can he be compared to us? What a joke. Just watch. We don't even need to do anything. Duanyu alone can kill this brat. In the Shin family, Shin Jingqiu and Shin Xiaoqi clenched their fists nervously. This was especially true for Shin Jingqiu, who stared at Lin Xian without blinking. She was too happy. She did not expect Lin Xian to really come. However, she was also very nervous. She was worried about Lin Xian's safety. You want to fight? All right, brat. I'll fulfill your wish. However, our battle is not that simple. Duanyu sneered and looked at Wu Zun. Chapter 1446. You want to fight? All right, kid, I'll grant you your wish. However, our battle won't be that simple. Duanyu sneered and looked at Wu Zun. Wu Zun sat down again and nodded. Sure. Thank you, father. Duanyu was elated. He waved his hand and a light flashed on the other side of the valley. An array quickly formed. Then, 7 to 8 old figures appeared. They were all old men. They were injured all over and looked dispirited. Their bodies were covered in blood. They were tied up by countless divine ropes and hung in midair. Everyone was shocked when they saw these figures. Those elders of the Immortal Martial Academy all stood up, their eyes fixed on the scene before them. On the other hand, Lin Xian's expression instantly turned ice-cold. His eyes were filled with blood-red murderous intent. The old figures in front of him were the 9th Elder, 10th Elder, and a few other elders of the God of War Palace. They were worried about Lin Xian and secretly came out to search for him. They did not expect to be discovered and captured by the Duan family. Then, they were brought here and tortured. Now, they were taken out in front of everyone and prepared to be slaughtered. The 9th Elder and the rest also saw Lin Xian and trembled. Young master, leave quickly, leave quickly! The Duan family patriarch has already become a challenger. Leave quickly! Yes, young master! Don't worry about us. Leave quickly. Dean Xian will take you away. The 10th Elder and the rest shouted frantically. They did not expect Lin Xian to come. This was definitely the worst news. The Duan family was an inescapable net. Once they came, they would not be able to leave. Lin Xian clenched his fists, and his body trembled. He took a deep breath and tried to control his murderous intent. 9th Elder, 10th Elder, seniors of the God of War Palace, don't worry. I will definitely let you leave safely. Not only that, I will make those who hurt you pay back 100 times over. With that, Lin Xian's cold gaze swept across the Duan family. Instantly, the warriors of the Duan family trembled and felt a chill in their hearts. Because the other party's gaze was too terrifying, as if he was a god of death. However, the ancestor of the Duan clan, the martial sovereign, Duanyu and the others were all sneering. Among them, Duanyu even coldly said, Brat, do you want to save them? Sure, compete with me. However, I have something to tell you. Every 3 moves I will kill 1 person. There are a total of 7 people here. In other words, we only have 21 exchanges. If you win in 3 moves, I will release all of them. And if you are unable to defeat me within 21 moves, then all of them will die. Remember, you're the one who killed them. Duanyu stared at Lin Xian and laughed maniacally. As for the surrounding martial artists, they felt a chill in their hearts. Killing 1 person every 3 moves, this Duan clan was too ruthless. One had to know that Duanyu was on the same level as young Master Tianwu. No matter how strong this Lin Xian was, how could he defeat his opponent in 20 moves? As for winning in 3 moves, that was even more impossible. In other words, all the elders of the Palace of War Gods had to die. Killing 1 person in 3 moves was indeed ruthless. It looked like the Duan clan was determined to kill all the elders of the Palace of War Gods. Not only that, but Lin Xian would also not be able to escape in the end. Patriarch Murong remained silent on his high seat. His fingers tapped lightly in the air as a satisfied smile appeared on his face. The martial supremacy also nodded slightly. Indeed, in his opinion, with Duan Yu's strength, the outcome of the battle would not be decided without at least 100 moves. By then, all the people from the Palace of War Gods would have been killed. However, the people from Senma College could no longer sit still. One of their goals this time was to rescue the 9th Elder and the others. Now that they saw those people being dragged out in front of everyone, they were furious. Din Xian's eyes were also dark. He had already decided to find a suitable time to strike. At that moment, Lin Xian said in a low voice, "All right, I agree to your request. Hurry up and die." Lin Xian's voice was sonorous, and there was no trace of fear in it. At that moment, he was like a god of war. The aura he exuded made everyone's hearts tremble. He agreed? How is that possible? Does he think that he can finish off Duan Yu in less than 20 moves? He's crazy! Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. However, when they saw the confident expression on Lin Xian's face, their hearts trembled. What was with that confident smile of hers? Did he have some secret technique? Everyone was confused. However, Duan Yu sneered. "Kid, since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." In the distance, the martial artists from the Duan family also shouted coldly. "Brother Yu, kill him! Kill this kid! Avenge our Duan family! Idiot kid, he dares to attack Duan Yu! He doesn't know what's good for him! Just you wait! Today will be his burial ground!" Everyone sneered. Duan Yu also took a step forward. The golden armor on his body emitted a dazzling light. He was like a golden god of war, exuding an unparalleled power. At that moment, Duan Yu's gaze was piercingly cold. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his entire body carried a surging aura. He raised his arrogant head and looked ahead. "Kid, I'll let you know my true strength." Universe-suppressing fist. In the next moment, Duan Yu roared. The golden armor on his body flickered with incomparable light. Then, he punched out. The terrifying fist directly shattered the void. This punch was simply too terrifying. It carried an unparalleled amount of power. Countless golden lights flickered. There were a total of 49 golden lights, and each of them transformed into a sharp sword. The 49 sharp swords accompanied the fist and quickly enveloped Lin Xian. Seeing this scene, everyone's heart beat wildly. Many people revealed shocked expressions. This power is too terrifying. He's already reached the half-step king realm. No way? Is this Duan Yu so powerful? It seems like we've underestimated him before. This is the universe-suppressing fist. In Duan Yu's hands, it's even more terrifying. Why do I feel that he's already surpassed Prince Ling Feng? No wonder the Duan family wants him to be the new Prince Tianwu. One after another, cries of surprise sounded. It could be said that Duan Yu's power had indeed shocked everyone. Even Prince Anil and the other two frowned. In truth, this power was not weaker than theirs. It's over. Lin Xian definitely won't be able to take down his opponent in a short period of time. He might even lose. It seemed that the elders of the Palace of Gods of War were dead for sure. At this moment, everyone had the same thought. This is the first move. Die for me! At the front, Duan Yu coldly snorted. Carrying an incomparably resplendent light and the 49 golden swords, he quickly blasted forward. Lin Xian was as unmoving as a mountain. His gaze was cold like a killing god, but he had no intention of making a move. Chapter 1447. That's the first move. Die! In front of him, Duan Yu snorted coldly. With the bright light and the 49 golden swords, he charged forward quickly. Lin Xian was as still as a mountain. His eyes were cold like the god of death. He had no intention of making a move. What? He didn't make a move? What is he doing? Humph! This Lin guy must be scared out of his wits. Sure enough, he was a piece of trash. He must have used despicable means to kill Prince Ling Feng. Now that they were in public, he was no match for Duan Yu. Go, kill him, kill this kid! The Duan family disciples roared crazily. A cold smile appeared on the corners of Duan Yu's mouth when she saw this scene. Humph, he is indeed a piece of trash. Just as he had guessed, Duan Yu did not have any real skills. Thinking of this, he was even more pleased. The power in his hand increased by 30%, turning into a golden dragon that charged forward quickly. However, facing such a terrifying fist and the 49 golden swords, Lin Xian only stretched out his palm and grabbed forward. Look, he made a move! What? He wants to grab the golden swords with his bare hands? Oh my God, what is he doing? He must be crazy. It's over. That kid must be crazy. He dares to take the Qianquan fist head on. Doesn't he know how powerful the Qianquan fist is? At this moment, everyone exclaimed. Many people shook their heads and sighed, thinking that Lin Xian was too blind. Among them, Mr. Annel and Mr. Moonwalker frowned. Mr. Qilin sneered disdainfully. He is indeed a piece of trash. When Duan Yu saw Duan Yu grabbing his fist with his bare hands, his lips curled into a mocking smile. What an idiot! My Qianquan ring is extremely terrifying. My body is no weaker than an earth-rank martial art. How dare you grab it with your bare hands? Today, I will break your palm. Boom! In the next moment, a low sound came from the front. It was like a muffled thunder, shaking everyone's body. However, the earth-shattering explosion that was expected did not happen. There was no blood, no screams, only a low sound. Then, there was nothing else. What happened? Everyone was puzzled and stretched their necks to look ahead. Then, their jaws dropped as if they had seen a ghost. Because in front of him, Lin Xian was still as immovable as a mountain, standing with his hands behind his back. At this moment, he stretched out a hand and firmly grasped the golden fist. The surrounding 49 sharp swords seemed to have been nailed into the void, unable to slash down at all. Caught? How is this possible? Everyone widened their eyes and rubbed their eyes. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Duan Yu's face was also filled with shock, and his mind went blank. He couldn't believe it. How could his opponent catch his Qianquan fist? No, that's impossible. This isn't real. Damn it, how did you do it? He roared crazily and wanted to withdraw his fist, but he found that his opponent's palm was like a cage, tightly holding his fist. He couldn't move it at all. Lin Xian's eyes were as cold as the sword of a god. He stared at Duan Yu and coldly said, First move. What? Duan Yu was stunned, and so was everyone else. They didn't expect Lin Xian to be checking the moves. Could it be that he really wanted to save the Palace of Gods of War Elders? However, before anyone could react, Duan Yu let out a blood-curdling scream. Lin Xian clenched his fist and instantly, the 49 golden swords surrounding him were broken in half. As if they were sliced apart by a divine weapon, they shattered into pieces and fell to the ground. Not only that, Duan Yu's entire arm was broken, revealing the white bone underneath. Duan Yu's miserable scream was heard, and his entire face became distorted. Horrifying sweat dripped down his face. However, it wasn't over yet. In the next moment, Lin Xian lifted his leg and kicked Duan Yu's stomach, causing him to kneel on the ground and vomit blood. Second move. Lin Xian continued to speak coldly. Everyone's mind went blank as they stood rooted to the ground. What's going on? What's going on? 2 moves, only 2 moves. The powerful Duan Yu was defeated. 2 moves, that was Duan Yu. He was a genius who was about to become young Master Tianwu. How could he be defeated so easily? At this moment, everyone couldn't believe it. That's impossible. Could it be an illusion? Damn it, why is Lin Xian so powerful? Is he really defeated? Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. At this moment, young Master Annel, young Master Moonwalker, and Prince Ling Feng couldn't remain calm. They stood up abruptly and stared at the voice in front of them with sharp eyes. One had to know that Duan Yu was about to become young Master Tianwu. His strength wasn't much weaker than theirs. Even if they were to attack, they wouldn't be able to defeat him within 20 moves. But now, Duan Yu was defeated in 2 moves. How was that possible? Didn't this mean that Lin Xian's strength was even greater than theirs? Impossible, that's impossible. I don't believe it. Young Master Qilin shook his head frantically. Damn it, this kid must have used some secret technique, or consumed some elixir. Otherwise, it's impossible for him to be so powerful. He was extremely shocked. Previously, he was disdainful and thought that Lin Xian couldn't defeat Duan Yu. But now, in just 2 moves, Duan Yu was defeated and even lost an arm. The scene was too shocking. It was like a sudden clap of thunder that stunned him. The Duan family was even more shocked. Even Wu Zun and the old ancestor of the Duan family were stunned. That was because they knew Duan Yu's strength. He wasn't much weaker than young Master Anil and the rest. That was why they had the confidence to promote Duan Yu as the new young Master Tianwu. And this time, the competition between Duan Yu and Lin Xian was approved by them. They wanted to use this competition to clear Duan Yu's name. But who knew that such a change would happen? In an instant, everyone in the valley was stunned. In the center of the valley, Duan Yu knelt on the ground and vomited blood. He was extremely shocked, and his mind was blank. He couldn't understand why his opponent was so powerful. It was completely beyond his expectations. Impossible! This is impossible! He wouldn't believe it even if he died, because in his expectations, the one who knelt down and begged for mercy should be Lin Xian. But now, why was it him? He shouted crazily, and the golden armor on his body flickered. He exploded with a powerful force and wanted to counterattack. But in the next moment, he was welcomed by a long leg. Bang! A low sound echoed in the valley. Lin Xian raised his leg and stomped Duan Yu's head into the mud. You've lost in the 3rd move. A cold voice sounded. Lin Xian's body emitted a terrifying aura like a giant abyss beast that wanted to devour people. From the beginning to the end, he didn't display any dazzling martial skills, and his body didn't emit any radiant light. Even his feet didn't move from the original spot. However, even with that being the case, he still managed to easily defeat Duan Yu. In fact, he had even stomped his opponent's head into the ground. Chapter 1448. From the beginning to the end, Lin Xian did not display any dazzling martial skills, nor did his body emit any resplendent light. In fact, he did not even move his feet from the spot. Even so, he still defeated Duan Yu with ease. Now, he had even stepped on Duan Yu's head into the ground. This scene truly shocked everyone. It took a long time for the Duan clan's warriors to react. Immediately, they roared crazily. Each and every one of them looked incomparably ferocious, as if they were demons. They roared and charged forward. Kid, you're courting death! Hurry up and let go of Duan Yu, or I'll make you wish you were dead! Kneel down and accept your death! After a series of cold shouts, the 5 elders quickly rushed out like lightning and charged towards Lin Xian. They were mad, they were really mad. Duan Yu was the hope of the younger generation of the Duan clan, and they had planned to push him to the position of young Master Tianwu. However, they did not expect Duan Yu to be defeated so thoroughly at such an important time. Not only that, even his head had been stomped into the ground. This was no longer a slap to the Duan clan's face, but a kick to their face. Therefore, the 5 elders could not stand it at all. They roared and charged forward quickly. The 5 of them had extremely powerful auras and had reached the peak of the 9th heaven of the martial highness realm. At this moment, the 5 of them were like gods when they joined forces, and their powerful auras shook the surroundings. Everyone cried out in alarm, because when these 5 elders joined hands, they were really too powerful. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on everyone's hearts, making it difficult for them to breathe. Boom, boom, boom. The void trembled as 5 giant palms probed and quickly grabbed at Lin Xian as if they were going to crush him. The 5 palms covered the sky and emitted a resplendent light that completely covered the sky. However, Lin Xian still stood with his hands behind his back and his foot on Duan Yu's head as he looked around disdainfully. At the next moment, he suddenly turned his head and looked behind him as he shouted coldly, "Get lost!" This voice was like a clap of thunder, turning into countless solid light waves that blasted upwards. Bam, bam, bam! At the next moment, the 5 giant palms in the sky exploded, turning into countless streams of qi that scattered in all directions. What? It broke? How is that possible? Everyone was shocked, not daring to believe it. Those were 5 elders at the peak of the 9th rank. If they joined forces, even young Master Tianwu would have to take them seriously. However, at this moment, his attack was actually shattered so easily. This Lin Xian was just too strong. At this moment, everyone was extremely shocked. They realized that Lin Xian's strength was truly unfathomable. As for the 5 elders, their expressions changed enormously. They did not expect the other party to be so powerful. With just a voice, he was able to shatter their attacks. Damn it, this kid is too strange. His strength is beyond our expectations. Hurry up and kill him with all your might. The 5 of them looked at each other and roared. The spiritual energy in their bodies burned rapidly, forming countless rays of light that shone in all directions like the sun. Lin Xian coldly snorted, his gaze like lightning. Stubborn fools! Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. In the next moment, he punched out. The raging dragon will in his body circulated, and boundless qi and blood surged, letting out the roar of a dragon. With a punch, heaven and earth shook, as if a huge dragon was roaring and rushing out. Explode! This punch was like the Buddha's divine fist, carrying an incomparably terrifying power as it blasted forward. In the next moment, the bodies of the 5 Duan family elders exploded, turning into 5 clouds of blood mist that floated in the air. What? They died just like that? How is this possible? At this moment, everyone stood up, unable to believe it. Those were 5 at the peak of the 9th rank. When they joined forces, their strength was extremely powerful. However, they were easily killed just like that. Young Master Anil, young Master Moonwalker, and young Master Qilin's expressions also changed, their expressions extremely solemn. Killing 5 at the peak of the 9th rank with one punch was probably something they could not do. Damn it, just what cultivation level has this kid reached? How can he be so terrifying? Could it be that he has surpassed the half-step king realm? At this moment, the 3 of them no longer had their previous calmness. Especially young Master Qilin, his face was terrifyingly gloomy. Thinking back to his previous attitude, he did not take Lin Xian seriously at all. But now, it seemed that the other party's strength had completely surpassed his. This was unacceptable to him, who had always been arrogant. The Duan family's patriarch's face was gloomy, his eyes cold, because the strength of the young man below was indeed beyond his expectations. However, he had already made up his mind that no matter what happened today, he would completely eradicate the other party to prevent future troubles. Marshal Revered stood up all of a sudden, a black wind fluttering, and a murderous aura surged. He took a deep breath, like a god of war, looking down at the front, and said coldly, "Kid, take your foot off and let Duan Yu go." He was indeed shocked that the other party could kill 5 at the peak of the 9th rank with one punch, which showed that his strength was extremely powerful. It was even possible that he had surpassed the half-step king realm. This made his heart overflow with killing intent, but the other party was still stepping on Duan Yu, so he could only endure. Only by freeing Duan Yu could he kill the other party. At this moment, several elders of the Divine Bird Palace also shouted coldly, "Kid, quickly let go of young Master Duan Yu, or there will be no way for you to live. Young man, I hope you don't make a mistake." On the other side, several elders of the Shin family also stood up and shouted coldly. In addition, a few 6th-rank sects and families also shouted coldly. The reason was simple. Although Lin Xian had shown great strength, so what? He was not a king after all. And the Duan family patriarch was a real king. No matter how strong Lin Xian was, he could not defeat him. So in the end, the Duan family was the winner. Now, they naturally had to stand on the Duan family's side. Lin Xian stepped on Duan Yu's head and sneered. What? Until now, you still have a high and mighty attitude? Do you really think you can control everything? I will let you know that the strength you are so proud of is laughable in my eyes. Kid, quickly let go of you, or I will kill all the elders of the Palace of War. You won't be able to save any of them. Are you threatening me? Lin Xian's eyes darkened, then a cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. I hate it when people threaten me. The next moment, he exerted force on the sole of his foot and stomped down. Poochie! Suddenly, Duan Yu's head split apart like a watermelon. What? He made a move? He actually made a move! How dare he make a move? The crowd could not believe it. The elders of the Shen family and Divine Bird Palace also opened their mouths wide and froze on the spot. They did not expect that the other party would really dare to make a move. Wu Zun roared with a ferocious expression. The other elders of the Duan family also roared crazily. Kid! I'm going to kill you! Kill you! Do it! Kill those old fellows from the Palace of War Gods for me! Leave none alive! I will tear them into pieces! Wu Zun roared crazily. Chapter 1449. Attack! Kill those old fellows from the Palace of War Gods for me! Don't leave a single one alive! I'm going to tear them into pieces! Wu Zun roared crazily. Suddenly, the formation in the valley ahead flickered, and countless rays of light enveloped the ninth elder and the others. The ninth elder and the others looked up to the sky and laughed, looking very excited. At this moment, they were not afraid at all because the scene that Lin Xian had displayed had deeply shocked them. They did not expect Lin Xian to be so powerful. He could instantly kill a top genius like Duan Yu. Their young master was so powerful, so what if they died? Moreover, they believed that Din Xian would definitely protect Lin Xian. Therefore, they could die without regrets. Seeing the formation flickering in front of them, forming countless killing sword chi and slashing toward the ninth elder and the others, many people sighed. As for the Senmu College elders, they clenched their fists and were about to attack. However, Lin Xian said indifferently, Bruzalong, save them all. What? Save them? How? That was an extremely terrifying killing formation. Even a half-step king might not be able to survive inside. Many people shook their heads and sneered. However, in the next moment, a light flashed, and the ninth elder and the others appeared beside the Crimson Dragon. Although they were injured, their lives were not in danger. What? They were saved? How is this possible? Everyone was stunned. That was a super killing formation. How did the other party do it? And it succeeded in the blink of an eye. They did not even see how the other party did it. This time, not only were the innocents shocked, but young Master Anil and the others were also extremely shocked. They also did not see it clearly. The Duan family was even more stunned. They stood rooted to the ground, unable to believe it. Even the 5 great kings could not remain calm this time. This was because this method was extremely shocking to them. With their experience and strength, they could naturally see the power of that killing formation. Even a half-step king might not be able to escape. Unless they made a move, they would not be able to save them instantly. But now, a 4-legged snake had actually done it. How was this possible? Therefore, in an instant, countless gazes were fixed on the Crimson Dragon. Among them, 5 gazes belonged to kings. They were extremely bright, like torches. I can't sense its cultivation base? Ancestor Murong was surprised. The patriarch of the Shen family also frowned. Could he be a super array master? Interesting indeed. The happy kings stared at the Crimson Dragon with a fiery gaze. Din Xian was also shocked. He naturally knew about the Crimson Dragon, but now it seemed that the Crimson Dragon had recovered. This made him heave a sigh of relief in his heart. If the other party had really recovered, it would definitely be a great thing for him. This way, Lin Xian and the people from the Palace of Ares would definitely be safe. Although he was a challenger and could restrain the patriarch of the Duan family, there was still the patriarch of the Shen family beside him. With the relationship between the Shen family and the Duan family, they would definitely make a move when the time came. As a mere king tier, he wouldn't be able to resist so many of them. But now, with the Crimson Dragon, even if the Shen family's patriarch made a move, he would be able to handle it. Thinking of this, Ding Xian revealed a smile. Then, he picked up the spirit tea in front of him with a relaxed expression and slowly sipped it. On the other hand, the patriarch of the Duan family's face was gloomy. He stared coldly at the Crimson Dragon, not hiding the killing intent in his eyes. Unexpected, this was too unexpected. He had arranged everything, but he didn't expect that it would be destroyed by a long snake. He couldn't accept this. However, what shocked him even more was that the other party didn't fear his suppression at all. This was because this gaze contained the powerful suppression of a challenger. Any martial artist below the challenger level, even a half-step challenger, wouldn't be able to withstand it. He wanted to use this method to kill the other party, but he didn't expect it to have no effect at all. The Crimson Dragon didn't care about these gazes, especially the killing intent of the patriarch of the Duan family. Now that he had recovered to the challenger level, he didn't fear these people anymore. Although he hadn't recovered to his peak state, with his current cultivation and strength, he could use many secret techniques of the dragon race. He didn't fear these challengers at all. In the next moment, he waved his dragon claws and shot out several streams of spirit energy into the bodies of the ninth elder and the other elders of the Palace of Gods of War, helping them stabilize their injuries. Lin Xian also took out some pills for them to consume. It took a long time for everyone to regain their senses. Then, they burst out shouting in shock. The martial artists of the Duan family were even more enraged. At this moment, they finally couldn't take it anymore. The other party had actually killed one of their geniuses right under their noses. This was something they could not accept. Therefore, in the next moment, dozens of figures rose from the ground and charged towards Lin Xian. This time, there were a total of 10 peak Ninth Heaven Elders and 30 supremacies of the Ninth Heaven. When these people joined forces, they formed a terrifying aura. It was as if countless demons had appeared out of nowhere. The powerful aura caused a strong wind to blow in the entire valley. When these people joined forces, even a half-step challenger wouldn't be able to deal with them. Moreover, these people weren't fighting alone. Instead, they quickly formed a formation. Among them, 10 peak Ninth Heaven supremacies formed the Myriad Transformation Sword Formation. Instantly, countless sword chi rushed out from these elders, forming a terrifying sword formation that enveloped Lin Xian. The other 39th Heaven supremacies formed the Universe Demon Subduing Formation. Countless lightning bolts, strong winds, and flames surged out from these martial artists, forming a killing formation that also charged towards Lin Xian. When the two formations exploded, their energy was 10 times stronger than these martial artists. In an instant, they enveloped the entire valley. "Ha, kid, go to hell! I'll use your blood to pay tribute to the heroic spirits of my Duan family." Angry roars rang out as terrifying energy swept out in all directions. Seeing this scene, everyone retreated in horror and raised their defenses to protect themselves. There was no choice. These two formations were too terrifying. The energy that they emitted made these martial artists feel despair. This was a joint attack formation that was specially used to kill enemies. In this formation, one could definitely erupt with 10 times more power than one's own. Moreover, it could be combined perfectly. It could be said to be an extremely powerful killing formation. Within the Myriad Transformation Sword Formation, hundreds of sword chi soared into the sky. Like divine light, they flickered with an incomparably sharp aura. They covered the sky and instantly engulfed Lin Xian. On the other side, the Universe Demon Subduing Formation exploded with unparalleled power. Countless bolts of lightning danced like wild dragons, directly shattering the void. Behind them, there were flames that filled the sky, countless wind blades, and terrifying ice. All sorts of powerful energy gathered at this moment, forming an inescapable net. In an instant, the two killing formations completely enveloped Lin Xian. Seeing this scene, everyone's mouths were wide open, and their scalps went numb. Chapter 1450. It's over, it's over. This time, Lin Xian is dead for sure. I'm afraid no one can withstand such a horrifying killing array. Yeah, no matter how strong he is, he's only one person. The Duan family has countless experts and such a magical killing array. When combined, they can unleash 10 times the power. No matter how strong that kid is, he can't resist. Everyone discussed while the Marshal Honorable's lips curled into a cold smile. The Duan family's old ancestors' eyes flickered. Not only that, but the other 4 kings were also paying attention. Lin Xian's previous performance was too dazzling and completely exceeded their expectations. He had even surpassed young Master Anil and the others. Rumble! Crack! Crack! Sword chi and lightning danced wildly. Horrifying energy exploded, causing the void in front of them to completely crack, forming terrifying black holes. Seeing this scene, those experts of the Duan clan finally looked up to the sky and laughed loudly. Ha 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 ha, die, kid! So what if you're strong? Aren't you just a vengeful spirit now? This is what you get for going against the Duan family. Humph, not only are we going to kill you, but we're also going to kill everyone in the Palace of Ares. Let's see how you're going to stop us. Vicious voices rang out one after another, causing everyone's scalp to tingle and their hearts to palpitate. As for the 9th elder and the others, they had just recovered from their injuries. Seeing this scene, their faces instantly turned pale. They even gritted their teeth and charged forward again, wanting to risk their lives. The Crimson Dragon waved its claws, and as if it had cast a spell, it firmly restrained the 9th elder and the others. Then, it said lazily, "Don't worry. That kid won't die. His strength is far beyond your imagination. This attack is nothing to him." Although the Crimson Dragon's voice wasn't loud, it spread clearly in all directions. It could even be heard clearly under the thunderous roar. This attack? Nothing to him? Everyone felt a headache coming. This was an extremely horrifying attack. No one below the King realm could withstand it. It was only because this valley had a super array that it wasn't destroyed. Even the void was blasted into black holes. They really couldn't think of anyone who could survive under such power. Terrifying energy exploded, blasting the void into one black hole after another, flickering indeterminately as if it was the entrance to the abyss of hell. Seeing this scene, the Duan clan's martial artists laughed wildly. In their opinion, the other party was dead for sure. This was because no one below the King realm could block such an attack. This is your strength? Do you have the right to be arrogant? How pitifully weak! However, at that moment, an ice-cold voice sounded from the berserk energy. What? This is impossible! Hearing this voice, everyone was stunned. The Duan clan's martial artists widened their eyes in disbelief. They could naturally tell that the voice belonged to Lin Xian, but how was that possible? How could he still be alive? Shouldn't he have been blown to smithereens by this violent energy? It must be an illusion. Maybe the spiritual energy just now was too strong, so it's an illusion. Many people comforted themselves. However, in the next moment, their eyelids twitched violently as they froze on the spot. That was because the terrifying energy vortex in front of him had suddenly split open, as if it had been split in half by a sword. And from that huge crack, a figure slowly walked out. What? It's Lin Xian! It was Lin Xian. His clothes were neat and tidy, without a trace of dust. How is this possible? This can't be real. I don't believe it. Seeing this, the Duan clan's martial artists roared wildly. How could the other party be unscathed after such a terrifying attack? How was that possible? They could not believe it. They were not the only ones. At that moment, everyone was stunned. Even the kings frowned as their eyes flickered. That was because the outcome was indeed beyond their expectations. At that moment, the martial venerable also reacted and roared wildly. Retreat! Retreat quickly! The Duan clan's martial artists felt their scalps go numb as they retreated madly. The other party was too strange. That was their full-powered attack, and no one below the king realm could withstand it. However, not only was the other party alive, but he was also safe and sound. He was not injured at all. That was too unbelievable. All of you stay here! Lin Xian looked at the scene and snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, a golden heavenly rock flew out from his palm and quickly filled the entire sky. 108,000 swords. The golden heavenly rock flapped its wings and golden feathers turned into countless divine swords that flew in all directions. No! The Duan clan's martial artists felt their scalps go numb as they roared wildly and resisted with all their might. However, it was useless. In front of those golden swords, they were as weak as ants. The martial venerable roared furiously and attacked wildly. Beside him, a black tiger quickly appeared. Then, he waved his hand and the black tiger quickly pounced forward. All right, I'll get rid of you today! Lin Xian roared and stomped his foot. His entire body turned into a sharp sword radiance and instantly charged forward. At the same time, the golden heavenly rock in the sky was still shining brightly. 108,000 golden swords swept across the entire valley. Puff! Puff! In an instant, the Duan clan's martial artists were all pierced by the golden swords and nailed to the ground. The ground was instantly dyed red. Blood flowed and a pungent smell of blood filled the air. Everyone went crazy and couldn't believe it. They could only retreat quickly for fear of being affected. Kid, I'll kill you! Seeing this, the martial venerable was furious. He stepped on the black tiger and charged out quickly. At the same time, a black pagoda appeared in his hand. It shone with a black light and was like a black mountain that crushed the void. At this moment, the martial venerable displayed his powerful combat strength and looked down on everyone. He was like a god of war as he charged towards Lin Xian. So strong! Everyone was shocked. The martial venerable's aura was too terrifying. It had long surpassed the half-step king realm. It was even more terrifying than the joint attack of the Duan clan's martial artists. It was too terrifying. He was probably not far from the king realm. Everyone exclaimed. In an instant, the martial venerable had already arrived beside Lin Xian. His gaze was like lightning and carried a sharp light as it opened and closed. The black pagoda in his hand spun quickly and shot out rays of black light. The black tiger beneath his feet roared at the sky and opened its bloody mouth, easily tearing the void apart. In an instant, all kinds of attacks blasted towards Lin Xian. Martial venerable, right? I'll start with you today. Lin Xian snorted coldly. His expression was extremely cold. A green dragon shadow appeared above his hand. It was like a real dragon and was extremely ferocious. Then he punched out. Boom! In the next moment, the terrifying palm collided with the black pagoda and the black tiger beneath his feet. An earth-shaking sound resounded. The terrifying sound resounded in all directions. Many martial artists in the surroundings had blood flowing out of their ears and kept retreating. Chapter 1451. Boom! In the next moment, the terrifying palm collided with the black pagoda and the black tiger, creating an earth-shattering sound. The terrifying sound reverberated in all directions. Many martial artists in the surroundings were bleeding from their ears and kept retreating. Terrifying, it was too terrifying. The array of the entire valley shook violently. It could not withstand the impact at all, and cracks began to appear in many places. However, there were 5 kings here, so there would not be any accidents. Immediately, Ancestor Murong and the other kings made their moves. Countless rays of light shot out and stabilized the entire valley. However, in the blink of an eye, the outcome of the battle had been decided. A blood-curdling scream was heard, followed by countless shattering sounds. What? The outcome has been decided? So fast! Everyone was shocked and looked over. The martial honorable was covered in blood and looked horrified as he quickly retreated. The pagoda in his hand was split in half, and the black tiger under his feet was killed by a single punch. At that moment, the martial honorable was in a sorry state. He was like a stray dog, retreating quickly. What? How is this possible? Everyone saw the scene. They could not believe it. They had originally thought that Lin Xian would be the one to lose, but they had not expected the martial honorable to lose. Not only had he lost, but he had lost so miserably. One punch, just one punch, and the martial honorable was severely injured. Even the Dharma treasure in his hand was destroyed. His speed was even faster than Duan Yu's. Impossible! How can this kid be so powerful? At that moment, everyone's scalps went numb. They now realized that Lin Xian was too terrifying. His combat strength did not seem to be up to par. As the enemy's strength increased, Lin Xian's combat strength became even more powerful. This made everyone incomparably shocked. At that moment, even Ancestor Murong, the happy monarch, and the Shin family's patriarch frowned. Din Xian was also shocked. To be honest, Lin Xian's combat strength had far exceeded his expectations. You want to leave? Don't you think it's too late? Since the Duan family dared to attack the God of War palace, you should be prepared to be killed. Lin Xian shouted coldly. A green killing sword quickly formed in his hand and slashed forward. Kid, you're courting death! Seeing Wu Zun retreat with injuries while Lin Xian continued to attack, the Duan clan's patriarch could no longer hold back. He snorted coldly and stretched out his palm. Instantly it formed a 5-finger mountain and enveloped Wu Zun. In an instant, the heavenly hand wrapped around Wu Zun and brought him back to the Duan clan's ancestors' side. All of this happened very quickly, in the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint. By the time everyone regained their senses, the battle was already over. Only the heavily injured and bleeding martial honorable had a ferocious expression on his face. Impossible! How is this possible? I don't believe it! The martial revered clutched his wound, his expression extremely sinister. He did not expect this at all, because even if you beat him to death, he did not believe that the other party could hurt him. It should be known that his strength had long since surpassed the half-step king realm, and reached an inconceivable level. He might even become another king in the future. It could be said that there was practically no one below the king level who could go against him. But now, he had been defeated. One punch, just one punch, and his opponent had severely injured him. Don't speak first, consume the indestructible golden pill, the Duan clan's patriarch said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Wu Zun quickly consumed an indestructible golden pill, and the injuries on his body instantly healed. Then, he glared fiercely at Lin Xian again. In fact, Duan Yu and a few other top experts had a chance to survive. As long as they consumed the indestructible golden pill, they could recover no matter how serious their injuries were. However, Lin Xian's methods were too fierce. In one move, everyone was killed, not giving them a chance to consume the indestructible golden pill. This time, it was the Duan clan's patriarch's intervention that saved the lives of the martial artists. Otherwise, the martial artists' fate would have been the same as those people, killed in one move. Kid, I won't let you go! Wu Zun stared at Lin Xian and said in a sinister voice. Won't let me go? Think about yourself first. Do you really think that with this old dog helping you, you can escape safely? Lin Xian looked into the distance, and sneered disdainfully. He did not intend to let the martial artists of the Duan clan escape. Kid, don't be so arrogant. I didn't kill you because I don't want to fight with you. But you provoked me time and time again and killed countless experts of the Duan clan. No matter what, I won't let you go this time. The Duan clan's patriarch's voice was cold and carried the pressure of a king. Suddenly, the surrounding martial artists' hearts beat wildly, and their blood boiled. Some of the weaker martial artists even knelt on the ground. This was the pressure of a king. No one below the king level could resist it. Patriarch, please kill this thief and avenge the Duan clan. At this moment, countless disciples of the Duan clan knelt and shouted loudly. Everyone felt their scalps go numb. If the Duan clan's patriarch attacked, Lin Xian would definitely die. On the side of Senmu College, many of the elders were also nervous. Din Xian's eyes flickered, and she was ready to attack at any time to stop the Duan clan's patriarch. Lin Xian, on the other hand, sneered at the sky. Kill me? Humph! Today, none of you from the Duan clan will leave! After saying that, Lin Xian's body swayed, and he charged forward. Once again, a green sword shadow formed in his hand, and he charged toward Wu Zun. Kid, you're courting death. Wu Zun roared crazily when he saw that. On the side, the Duan clan's patriarch's face darkened. He did not expect that the other party would dare to attack. That was too arrogant. Therefore, at this moment, he no longer cared about his status as a king. He decided to attack decisively and kill the thief in front of him. The surrounding people's eyelids twitched in disbelief. They did not expect that Lin Xian would take the initiative to kill Wu Zun. Was he not courting death? After all, the Duan clan's patriarch was standing next to Wu Zun. That was a true king. Could it be that Lin Xian wanted to fight against a king? Everyone felt like they were dreaming. Even the other kings were stunned. They did not expect Lin Xian to be so bold as to provoke a king. Interesting. The happy monarch smiled. Patriarch Murong's eyes flickered, but he did not say anything. On the other hand, the Shin clan's patriarch snorted coldly. Obviously, he was not happy with Lin Xian's provocation of a king. Din Xian was the most worried. He did not expect that Lin Xian would take the initiative to attack. That was too bold. Moreover, what shocked him even more was that Lin Xian's speed was too fast. By the time he reacted, Lin Xian was already in front of him. Even if he wanted to attack now, it would be too late. However, he gritted his teeth and decided to attack. In an instant, Din Xian flew forward as well. Seeing that, the Shin clan's patriarch snorted coldly and disappeared on the spot as well. On the other side, Lin Xian had already arrived in front of Wu Zun. The dragon-shaped sword shadow in his hand slashed down quickly. Chapter 1452. On the other side, Lin Xian had already arrived in front of the Marshal Honorable. The dragon-shaped sword in his hand slashed down quickly. As the sword energy slashed down, a black crack that was more than 100 feet long appeared in the void, emitting a terrifying aura. You're courting death! This time, the patriarch of the Duan family was finally enraged. He took a step forward and stood in front of the Marshal Honorable. Instantly, a terrifying king's aura rose from his body. Terrifying energy exploded in all directions like a flash flood. The entire valley trembled violently. Even with the array defense, a large crack appeared at this moment. Countless mountains collapsed, and huge rocks rolled down. It was a terrifying scene. This was the aura of a king. It was too terrifying. Kid, die! The patriarch of the Duan family slapped out with the king's aura and quickly blasted towards Lin Xian. Behind him, the Marshal Honorable revealed a sinister smile. Humph, idiot kid, how dare you challenge a king? You're courting death. Although I can't kill you personally, I'll watch you die with my own eyes. Don't worry, after you die, I'll cut off your head and offer it to my 2 children. The Marshal Honorable's expression was as ferocious as a demon. The surrounding people were even more shocked. With the king attacking, Lin Xian would definitely not be able to resist. Din Xian was anxious and couldn't help but speed up. However, in the next moment, an old figure appeared in front of him and stopped him. Din Xian, where are you going? This is a matter of the Duan family. You'd better not interfere. At this critical moment, the patriarch of the Shin family appeared and stopped Din Xian, preventing him from saving Lin Xian. Scram! Din Xian was furious and unleashed a terrifying aura. The king's aura appeared again, pressing down on everyone on the ground. Humph, do you think I'm afraid of you? The patriarch of the Shin family roared and attacked as well. The 2 kings exchanged blows in the air. The terrifying thing was that a huge black crack appeared in the sky instantly. At the moment when the two of them exchanged blows, the patriarch of the Duan family's palms slammed heavily on Lin Xian's body. Boom! In the next moment, a terrifying explosion of energy directly turned the void into nothingness. One black hole after another quickly appeared and swallowed everything around it. No! When the ninth elder and the other elders from the palace of Ares saw this scene, they let out heart-wrenching screams. Din Xian's face darkened as she shouted, "Get lost!" His entire body erupted with unparalleled power. He was like a peerless divine sword that was instantly unsheathed. The terrifying aura caused the entire sky to rapidly collapse. However, on the other side, the patriarch of the Shen clan sneered. Similarly, a violent energy gushed out from his body, resisting the Dean of Henshuan. "Hee, I won't let you pass," the patriarch of the Shen family said coldly. On the other side, the happy monarch and ancestor Murong's eyes flickered. They had no intention of joining the fight. Just when everyone thought that Lin Xian was finished, another change occurred. Two more miserable screams came from the terrifying black hole in front of them. Then, a figure flew out. Boom! The figure was like a cannonball, crashing into the mountain. Instantly, countless mountains collapsed, boulders rolled down, and the ground cracked open. Because the speed was too fast, no one could see clearly who was sent flying. However, they guessed that it should be Lin Xian. However, very soon, these people were stunned. Because another figure fell from the sky. This person had dozens of sword qi on his body. They were extremely sharp and blood was flowing. He looked extremely ferocious. Boom! The figure landed and was nailed to the ground by the sword qi. What? Wu Zun! How is this possible? When the people saw the figure, their minds instantly exploded. They did not expect that the person nailed to the ground was Wu Zun. Wasn't he protected by the patriarch of the Duan family? How could he be killed? Everyone's mind went blank. They could not believe it. Wu Zun was the top expert below the challenger level. He was also known as the person who was most likely to become the next challenger. It could be said that he was very dazzling. He was the future hope of the Duan family. However, at this moment, he was nailed to the ground by countless sword qi. He could not be more dead. Moreover, what was even more shocking was that the last scene they saw was the patriarch of the Duan family protecting Wu Zun. Logically speaking, if a challenger took action, there would be no danger. However, the current situation was beyond everyone's expectations. Could it be that the person who was sent flying was the patriarch of the Duan family? At this moment, this thought suddenly appeared in everyone's mind. However, when this thought appeared, countless people immediately shook their heads. They could not believe it. No, it can't be. How is this possible? Wu Zun was a real challenger. How could a young man in his 20s defeat a challenger? Everyone could not believe it. Even Patriarch Murong and the happy monarch frowned. In the sky, Din Xian and the patriarch of the Shen family stopped their attacks at the same time. They looked at the ruins in shock. To be honest, both of them were very nervous. Din Xian was worried about Lin Xian. However, the patriarch of the Shen family was even more afraid that the patriarch of the Duan family was the one who was sent flying. If that was really the case, then the situation was very strange. A challenger was sent flying by a young man in his 20s. In the history of the Tianwu continent, this had never happened before. Very quickly, they knew the result. Because the ruins in front of them had exploded and turned into dust. An old figure walked out of the ruins. He was tall and had a head of white hair. He wore a red robe and emitted a terrifying aura. Everyone could only look up to him. What? The patriarch of the Duan family! Everyone opened their eyes wide in disbelief. They had never imagined that the person who was sent flying would actually be the patriarch of the Duan family. This was truly too shocking. After all, the patriarch of the Duan family was a true challenger. He was the existence at the peak of the entire continent. How could he be sent flying by someone? However, it had really happened. Everyone felt that their brains were not enough to comprehend it. Even the other four challengers had solemn expressions. Their eyes were filled with dense doubt. To be honest, even though the patriarch of the Duan family had just entered the king realm and his strength was slightly inferior to theirs, he was still a challenger. Advancing from the Exalt realm to the king realm was like a carp leaping over the dragon gate. Once one reached the gazing realm, one's strength would undergo a tremendous change. It could be said that the gap between the king realm and the Exalt realm was like the gap between heaven and earth. It was impossible to cross. However, now, an Exalt realm kid had actually sent a king realm expert flying. This was truly too shocking. Wait, an Exalt realm expert is absolutely unable to go against a king realm expert. Ancestor Murong had a solemn expression as he swiftly shook his head. There's something wrong with that kid. He really didn't believe that an Exalt realm expert could defeat a king realm expert because the gap between their strengths was more than 100 times. What did you say? Could it be that kid has entered the king realm? How could that be possible? The patriarch of the Shin family shook his head madly and had an expression of disbelief. This was too shocking. After all, Qinshi was only around the age of 20, and there had probably never been someone who had entered the king realm at such an age. Chapter 1453. Not to mention the Shin clan's ancestor, even the Merry King and Dean Xian gasped. All of them had entered the king realm after the age of 500, and the better ones were around 600 or 700 years old. Almost all of them had only succeeded when they were over 1,000 years old. Just this obviously showed how difficult it was to enter the king realm. But now, someone told them that a 20-year-old young man had entered the king realm, and they wouldn't believe it even if they were beaten to death. Where's that kid? At this moment, the Merry King had restrained his smile, and his handsome face was covered in a solemn expression. His clear eyes were like thunderbolts as they swept through the surroundings. In next to no time, he locked on to the area ahead. There was an enormous black hole there that was slowly vanishing, and it was the damage caused by the Duan clan's ancestors' palm strike. The Duan clan's ancestor's face was terrifyingly gloomy. Truthfully speaking, he didn't believe that such a situation would occur at all. After all, he was a king realm expert, and no one in the world could compare to him. Besides the 4 people that had entered the king realm before him, he didn't take the others seriously at all. As for someone like Lin Xian, he was confident that he could crush Lin Xian with a single finger. However, he never imagined that he would actually be blasted flying, and this caused him to be on the verge of exploding with rage. Impossible! This is absolutely not his strength. Damn it! Could it be that this kid brought help? The Duan clan's ancestor's face was livid, and his entire body trembled with rage. Being blasted flying by a 20-year-old young man caused him to feel ashamed, and he would probably become a laughingstock on the continent in the future. So, in the next moment, he roared furiously while light erupted from his eyes, and it formed into a ray of divine light that swept through the surroundings. Kid! I'll kill you! No matter what help you have, you won't be able to escape death today! The Duan clan's ancestor had a savage expression, and his aura was terrifying. His entire body was covered in monstrous baleful qi, and he was like a peerless devil king that was terrifying to the extreme. Humph! A cold grunt resounded from the black hole ahead, and then countless rays of sword light instantly lit up. The terrifying rays of sword light carried a piercingly cold aura as they shot into the 9 heavens, and they instantly slashed apart all the black holes in the surroundings. Old dog of the Duan clan, today is the day you die! Lin Xian's black hair fluttered with the wind as he stood in midair like a god of war. What's that? At the next moment, everyone looked up at the sky and cried out in shock. They discovered that there was a green domain within 30 meters of Lin Xian. Countless sword qi surged within it, and it was terrifying to the extreme. As for Ancestor Murong, the Happy King, and the other 4 people, their pupils contracted and their faces were filled with shock. King Domain! How is this possible? Damn it, is he a king tier? It can't be, right? He's already broken through? Cries of surprise rang out one after another. These voices all came from the 5 king tiers. Hearing the king's exclamation, the surrounding martial artists were even more shocked and stunned. What? That Cyan Sword Light domain is a king domain. King's domain? Isn't that something that only kings can possess? How could Lin Xian have it? Could it be that he's already a king? Everyone was shocked once again. As for young Master Anil, young Master Moonwalker, and young Master Qilin, their faces turned pale and their bodies began to tremble. King's domain! His opponent actually had a king's domain. How could this be? Especially young Master Qilin, a deep sense of fear appeared in his eyes. As a genius of the House of Kings, he naturally knew what a king's domain meant. However, he did not dare to believe it at all. A young man in his 20s, who was even younger than him, could actually become a king tier. This completely overturned his understanding. It was laughable that he had been dismissive of this before. Thinking of this, cold sweat flowed down his entire body. The other 2 young masters also twitched the corners of their mouths. They could not believe it. As for the Duan family martial artists, they were even more horrified and frightened. King's domain? This is impossible! The Duan family's ancestor's pupils contracted as if he had seen a ghost. He screamed loudly. He had just broken through to become a king tier, so he naturally knew how difficult it was to break through. One had to know that he was now more than 1,000 years old, and had just become a king tier. He knew very well how difficult it was to break through. However, how could a young man in his 20s become a king tier? This was no longer a genius. This was definitely a demon. No way. This kind of person. He could not be allowed to live. Otherwise, he would be a nightmare for the Duan family in the future. The Duan family's ancestor felt a chill in his heart, and his expression was ferocious. That was because he realized that the young man in front of him had completely exceeded his expectations. He was too terrifying. He had to get rid of him to prevent future troubles. Brat, I want you dead! The Duan family's ancestor's expression was terrifying as he roared crazily. In the next moment, countless golden mists rushed out of his body and formed a special golden domain around him. Now, his heart was overflowing with killing intent, so he immediately used his strongest domain and decided to kill Lin Xian. Golden domain! Ancestor Murong and the others also narrowed their eyes. To be honest, it was their first time seeing the Duan family's ancestor's domain. Humph! Let me see if that brat really has a king's domain. The Shin family's ancestor's voice was cold. To be honest, he still did not believe it and thought that it was Lin Xian's trick. However, in the next moment, his eyelids twitched wildly, and his expression became abnormally ugly. That was because Lin Xian and the Duan family's ancestor had already begun to fight in front of him. The Duan family's ancestor used his golden domain and emitted a terrifying aura. He roared angrily, and a pair of golden wings appeared on his back, carrying him over quickly. Boom! In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of Lin Xian and grabbed forward with his large hand. Suddenly, the surrounding golden domain vibrated, and a large golden hand flew out and grabbed at Lin Xian. This large golden hand was extremely terrifying. There were countless golden patterns on it, and it emitted a mysterious aura. Those below the king level could not resist this large golden hand at all. On the other hand, Lin Xian let out a cold laugh as he pointed his finger forward like a sword. Suddenly, the dragon sword domain around him hummed, and countless sword chi quickly condensed and swung out along with his arm. The dragon-shaped sword chi was as heavy as a mountain and as cold as the cold wind. It was extremely terrifying and instantly slashed forward. Poof! The entire void was instantly cut in half. It was a terrifying scene. Everyone only saw a green dragon fly out from Lin Xian's fingertip and charge into the sky. Then, it roared and attacked the Duan family's ancestor. The sword chi was like a real dragon, and it made people's hearts palpitate. Clang! In the next moment, the dragon-shaped sword chi collided with the large golden hand, and an earth-shattering sound was heard. The entire valley completely exploded at this moment. The ground cracked and the valley was split in half. Dozens of black cracks appeared in the sky. These were spatial cracks that were extremely terrifying and contained extremely powerful energy. At this moment, they were all around Lin Xian and the Duan family's ancestor. What? He blocked it. Seeing this scene, the king's hearts beat wildly. The Duan family's ancestor's expression also became extremely ugly. He knew that Lin Xian's dragon sword domain was not illusory, nor was it a trick. It was a true king's domain. Otherwise, it would be impossible to block his attack. I don't believe it. Go to hell. Chapter 1454. The Duan family's patriarch's face turned ugly. He knew that Lin Xian's dragon sword realm was not illusory, nor was it a trick. It was a true king's realm. Otherwise, it would not have been able to block his attack. I don't believe it. Go to hell. The Duan family's patriarch went crazy. He stood in the golden realm and his entire body was wrapped in golden mist, forming a golden armor. His originally gray pupils turned golden and emitted 2 golden rays of light that pierced through the void. He waved his golden fist again and smashed it towards Lin Xian. The fist grew bigger with the wind and eventually became like a golden mountain, pushing through the void. Waves of air rolled, and the air exploded. The golden waves were like a real sea, surging in all directions. Humph! Lin Xian snorted again and directly used the great dragon sword soul to create all things. Suddenly, a black figure appeared in the dragon sword realm and sat there cross-legged. Its entire body was formed by black flames. It was Lin Xian's black flame martial soul. The black flame martial soul burned and turned into a black phoenix that rushed out. The huge figure rampaged in the air and a terrifying heat wave spread in all directions. Suddenly, the entire valley burned violently. The sky and the ground were filled with black flames in all directions. The Duan family's warriors below were wrapped in the flames and screamed. Under such black flames, they had no power to resist. However, these were only the flames that fell from the black phoenix. One could imagine how terrifying the black phoenix was. Kid, you're courting death! The Duan family's patriarch roared crazily. He naturally realized that hundreds of his Duan family's disciples had died in an instant. His heart was bleeding. However, he had no time to spare because the black phoenix was still rushing over. It carried monstrous black flames and quickly blasted towards him. Boom boom! The intense collision shook heaven and earth. Endless waves of black flames surged out, and the terrifying black flames seemed to ignite the golden realm. Get lost! The Duan family's patriarch roared and crazily pushed the golden realm. Immediately, dozens of large golden hands appeared in the sky and quickly slapped in all directions, extinguishing the black flames. Before the Duan clan's patriarch could heave a sigh of relief, another terrifying attack came at him. Within Lin Xian's dragon sword domain, another lightning figure appeared and sat cross-legged. This was Lin Xian's lightning martial soul. In the next moment, the sky was filled with thunder and lightning, forming a gigantic Qiongqi that stood tall in the sky and cracked the void. A roar reverberated for thousands of miles. The clouds in the sky split apart, and the surrounding mountains exploded. It was terrifying to the extreme. Retreat! The surrounding martial artists screamed as if they had gone mad. This was because they discovered that the battle was too terrifying. Everywhere was filled with berserk energy. They could only quickly retreat to a safe place. However, no one left. They hid in the distance and watched the battle again. Because this was too shocking and too exciting. They might not be able to witness a battle between 2 kings in their lifetime. If they missed this opportunity, they might not have another chance in the future. In the sky, Qiongqi's gigantic body was completely formed by purple and white lightning. As he walked, countless lightning bolts spread across the sky. Kill! The gigantic Qiongqi stood in the void and let out a terrifying roar. Then, he lifted his gigantic lightning foot and stomped on the Duan family's patriarch. You've gone too far! I'm going to kill you! The Duan family's patriarch went mad. His eyes emitted a golden light that was like a sharp knife that cut through the void. His golden realm was also operating rapidly. Then, a golden giant rose from the ground and fought against Xiongqi. Boom! 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 The two gigantic creatures exchanged blows in the sky. The terrifying energy caused the sky to explode. The Duan family's patriarch went completely mad. He realized that his opponent was too powerful, and he could not suppress him. He could not believe it. One had to know that his opponent was only in his 20s. He was more than 1,000 years old. Yet, his opponent's strength far exceeded his. He could not accept it. Lin Xian became more courageous as the battle went on. You've gone too far. When you stole the God of War palace and killed my martial artists, did you think of going too far? You only have yourself to blame for everything that happened today. Lin Xian snorted. Then, he waved his arm. Countless green sword chi surrounded him, and formed a gigantic green sword. Xiongqi held it in his hand and slashed down. Boom! A beam of cyan sword light, thousands of meters long, swept across like a long cyan river. Suddenly, countless green sword chi surrounded the sky. It was as if the entire sky had turned into a green ocean. In the next moment, the terrifying green sword light swept across the golden giant and split it in half. Boom! As for the Duan family's patriarch, he was sent flying again as if he had been struck by lightning. What? He was sent flying again! Everyone was shocked. They could not believe it. Even Patriarch Murong and the other kings' mouths twitched. One had to know that being sent flying this time was different from the previous time. The previous time, the Duan family's patriarch was careless. It was equivalent to being ambushed. That was why he was sent flying. But now, the Duan family's patriarch had used his king's domain and attacked with all his strength. Yet, he was still sent flying. This was too shocking. This meant that not only did his opponent have a king's domain, but his strength had also surpassed the Duan family's patriarch. Thinking of this, everyone's scalps went numb. They could not believe it. Patriarch Murong, Din Xian, and the others looked solemn. That's not right. Did you notice that this kid doesn't have a king's aura? The happy monarch said with a frown. Yes, that's true. Patriarch Murong nodded. He had also noticed this abnormality. Logically speaking, all kings had an aura called king's aura. However, Lin Xian did not have such an aura. It was indeed strange. What? You mean that kid isn't a king? The Shin family's patriarch frowned. If he isn't a king, where did his king's domain come from? Din Xian was also deep in thought. He could not understand. This was too strange. Someone who was not a king could condense a king's domain. This was something that was impossible. However, the other party had done it. It was extremely strange. Should we attack and capture this kid? The Shin family's patriarch said with a cold expression. This kid is too strange. Maybe he has some shocking secret on him. If we capture him and study him, we might be able to have a few more kings for our family. As he finished speaking, a hint of passion appeared in his eyes. He could not help but be tempted. If the other party really had a way to condense a king's domain, then their family would definitely be able to have a few more kings. This way, their family's strength would be greatly increased. Humph, you can try. Din Xian snorted coldly. Her cold gaze fell on the Shin family's patriarch. Chapter 1455. Humph! You can try! Din Xian snorted coldly as her cold gaze fell upon the patriarch of the Shin family. She would not allow the Shin family's patriarch to attack. The Shin family's patriarch waved his sleeve and ignored Din Xian. Instead, he turned around and spoke to Patriarch Murong and the happy king. The two of you shouldn't hesitate. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Don't you want to know what secrets that brat has? That's the secret to condensing a king domain. If we come, we might be able to break through again. Break through again. The happy king and Patriarch Murong's eyelids twitched when they heard that. If the previous reason had made them hesitate, they could not help but be tempted by this reason. After all, they had been in the king realm for a long time, but they had not been able to break through and had reached a bottleneck. Perhaps they would not be able to break through in their lifetime. But now, they had a glimmer of hope. They could not help but be tempted. After all, breaking through to a higher realm would not only increase one's strength, but also increase one's lifespan. That was the most tempting. Thus, at that moment, Ancestor Murong and the happy king both revealed tempted expressions. Din Xian's face fell, and her heart thumped. Oh no! He could see that the happy king and Patriarch Murong were tempted. If the three of them joined forces, he would not be able to resist them. Are you two really willing to do such a despicable thing? Din Xian asked coldly. Despicable? How is this despicable? Don't you want to extend your lifespan? Gain strength? The Shen family's patriarch snorted coldly. Din Xian and the Shen family's patriarch started to argue. At the same time, the situation of the battle changed again. After the Duan family's patriarch was sent flying, he was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. He could not believe that a 20-year-old youth could injure him. Moreover, it was under the circumstances that he had used his full strength. Ah! Kid, you forced me to do this! I want you dead! The Duan family's patriarch roared madly, and a trace of ferocity appeared in his eyes. Obviously, he was going to use a secret technique and attack at all costs. Sure enough, in the next moment, the Duan family's patriarch waved his hand and formed a strange seal. Then, the golden domain around him started to burn. The golden mist transformed into streaks of golden flames that burned fiercely, releasing unparalleled power. The Duan clan's patriarch's aura suddenly skyrocketed, and it was twice as powerful as before. What? Burning domain! The four king tiers stopped their debate, and their pupils abruptly contracted. Was this fellow crazy? The domain was the foundation of a king. However, the Duan family's old ancestor was actually burning his domain. This was destroying his own foundation. Even if he won, he would probably suffer heavy injuries, and he might even fall back to the king realm. This was definitely a method of harming the enemy at the cost of 800 of his own men. The Duan family's patriarch knew this as well, but there was nothing he could do. Previously, he had used his full strength, but he was still not a match for the other party. If this continued, he would be killed sooner or later. He might as well ignite the burning domain and risk his life. Perhaps he might still have a sliver of hope. At this moment, the old master of the Duan family burned his domain, and his entire body became stronger. In the next moment, he attacked Lin Xian fiercely. His messy hair fluttered in the wind, and flames surrounded him, making it impossible to look at him directly. Terrifying energy fluctuations were everywhere, causing the entire void to shake violently. Not only that, but the Duan family's patriarch was also wearing a golden armor. He pulled out a golden longsword from his golden domain and slashed in all directions. This was the power of the burning domain. It was extremely terrifying, and even ordinary one-star king tiers could not contend against it. A golden sword light flashed, accompanied by countless golden flames, and rushed towards Lin Xian. Wherever it passed, the entire void was quickly annihilated. With a thought, Lin Xian's starry battle armor quickly appeared on his body. This time, he did not take the attack head-on because the power of the burning domain was too terrifying. He did not dare to take it head-on. However, this did not mean that he was afraid of the other party. This was because although his body had not reached the king realm, his combat strength had already surpassed the Duan family's patriarch. Moreover, ever since he killed the Black Dragon sex leader, he had not stopped cultivating. Therefore, his strength was much stronger than when he was in the Tianen region. Lightning runes flickered under his feet, and Lin Xian moved quickly, dodging the terrifying golden sword light. Kid, are you afraid? Go to hell! Seeing that his opponent had dodged, the Duan family's patriarch revealed a trace of malevolence. He knew that he had succeeded because when he fought with Lin Xian before, the other party had never dodged and had always taken it head-on. Now that he had dodged, it meant that the other party was afraid of this power. While the power was still there, he would kill him in one fell swoop. The Duan family's patriarch smiled sinisterly, and then the golden flames on his body became even more monstrous. Rays of golden sword chi surged like divine rainbows and quickly enveloped Lin Xian. Kid, I don't know how you obtained the king realm, but you can't compare it to a real king. Now die. Hundreds of golden sword lights arrived above Lin Xian and were about to slash down. If he was hit, his flesh and blood would definitely splatter everywhere. Even a god would not be able to save him. However, Lin Xian snorted coldly, and a green dragon-shaped sword shadow quickly appeared beside him. In the next moment, he grabbed it. Roar! A loud dragon roar sounded, and a huge green dragon instantly rushed out of the dragon sword realm, looking disdainfully in all directions. This dragon roar was too loud, and it directly reverberated through thousands of miles. Countless thunderclaps sounded in the void, descending in all directions. As for the azure dragon, it soared into the sky and blasted away all of the golden sword chi above. What? This is impossible! The Duan family's patriarch was shocked and could not believe it. His opponent's strength had become stronger again? How was this possible? Could it be that he had been hiding his strength before? Thinking of this, his heart thumped wildly. He really could not believe it. His current strength was obtained by burning his king realm, but his opponent's strength had suddenly skyrocketed. What was going on? His opponent did not burn his king realm. The only explanation was that his opponent had not used his full strength before. Thinking of this, despair appeared in the Duan family's patriarch's eyes. His opponent was too powerful. Even if he burned his king realm, he still could not do anything to his opponent. This was an outcome that he had never imagined in his life. On the other hand, Lin Xian's black hair fluttered in the wind, and his entire body exuded an extremely terrifying battle intent. He was like a god of war. The dragon pattern under his feet rose, and a green dragon quickly appeared. Within the dragon sword realm, tens of thousands of swords roared. In his hand, there was a dragon-shaped sword shadow, and his entire person could be said to be extremely powerful. At this moment, the great dragon sword soul was displayed to the extreme by Lin Xian. Brilliant heavenly might, a sword chi like a divine sword slashed into the sky, instantly enveloping the Duan family's patriarch. At this moment, not only was the Duan family's patriarch in despair, but even the Murong family's patriarch, the Happy King, the Shin family's patriarch, and Din Xian were shocked. This was because this aura was too terrifying, and even they felt a sense of fear. Chapter 1456. Poof! In the next moment, the Duan family's patriarch was struck by the shocking sword chi and was sent flying. Blood splattered across the sky as the void cracked open. The terrifying crack extended for thousands of miles. A bottomless abyss appeared on the ground. The Duan family's patriarch was blasted into the ground. No one knew if he was dead or alive. After a long time, the terrifying vibrations gradually disappeared. The Duan family's patriarch's body was trembling. He was severely injured. Beside him, the golden domain was very dim as if it would shatter at any time. You! The Duan family's patriarch lay on the ground with a face full of despair. His lips trembled and he could not speak. Despair, it was too much despair. He could not resist this power at all. It was not only despair in terms of strength but also despair in terms of spirit. Originally, he had just broken through to become an overlord and was in high spirits, thinking that he could dominate the entire continent. However, he did not expect that he would be severely injured and almost die. The feeling of falling from the clouds into the abyss was too unbearable. He could not bear it at all. Thinking of this, the Duan family's patriarch vomited blood again. Meanwhile, Lin Xian's face was cold. He held the killing sword in his hand and stepped into the air, walking toward the Duan family's patriarch step by step. What are you trying to do? Seeing this, everyone's scalps went numb, and they were dumbfounded. The Duan family's elders quickly flew over to stop Lin Xian. Our patriarch has already lost. Why are you still attacking? That's right. The competition is over. Don't push your luck. Although the Duan family's martial artists were terrified, they could only bite the bullet and come forward now that their patriarch's safety was at stake. The competition is over? Lin Xian sneered. Who told you that this was a competition? This matter will not end until the Duan family's old dog dies. Lin Xian snorted. 2 balls of black flames appeared in his eyes and instantly enveloped the people in front of him. With a scream, the Duan family's elders were burned to ashes. Seeing this, everyone felt a chill in their hearts. The remaining Duan family members did not dare to step forward again. In the sky, the Shen family's patriarch snorted. This is your last chance. If the 2 of you don't attack now, I'm afraid you won't be able to catch that kid again. After saying that, his figure flashed and disappeared in the air. How dare you! Headmaster Xian snorted and quickly chased after him. Ancestor Murong and the Happy King looked at each other and quickly attacked as well. Whoosh! Whoosh! The next moment, 4 figures appeared in midair, blocking the path again. What? Someone else is attacking? Seeing this scene, no one dared to believe it. Who would dare to stop Lin Xian now? However, when they saw the 4 figures in the sky, they were all stunned. Because these 4 figures were none other than the 4 patriarchs of the Shen family. 4 king tiers. The appearance of the 4 shocked everyone. Lin Xian furrowed his brows when he saw this. Brat, you're too arrogant! The patriarch of the Shen family stared at Lin Xian with a gloomy gaze. His voice was piercingly cold. At the side, Ancestor Murong and the Happy King's figures also appeared. As for Headmaster Xian, she appeared beside Lin Xian. Be careful. They might attack you, Headmaster Xian quickly said. Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned and looked ahead. Get lost. This is between me and the Duan family. Lin Xian stared at the patriarch of the Shen family and scolded him coldly. What? Hearing this voice, everyone's scalp went numb. They could not believe it. Lin Xian dared to scold the patriarch of the Shen family? He was truly audacious. The patriarch of the Shen family was trembling with anger. Brat, you're too arrogant. I'm not a new king till like Duan Wang. If you offend me, you won't have a good ending. Indeed, the patriarch of the Shen family was not like the patriarch of the Duan family. He had become a king tier a few hundred years ago. Until now, his strength was unfathomable. At the side, the Happy King shook his head slightly. Young man, you should know when to stop. The patriarch of the Murong family also sighed. Enough is enough. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. They could not believe it. They did not expect the 3 kings to attack Lin Xian at the same time. Could it be that they wanted to protect the patriarch of the Duan family? Seeing this, the martial artists of the Duan family were excited. The patriarch of the Duan family, who was in the ruins below, also heaved a sigh of relief. He quickly took out an indestructible golden elixir and swallowed it. Then, the injuries on his body healed. However, the golden territory was still very dim. It could not be helped. Although the indestructible golden elixir was magical, it could not restore the king territory. Seeing that the 3 kings had attacked, Shinjingqiu was very nervous. Her small hands clutched the corner of her clothes tightly. On the other side, Murong Qingqing exclaimed, Patriarch! She did not expect the patriarch of the Murong family to attack. At the side, the elders of the Murong family shook their heads and sighed. Qingqing, this is the patriarch's decision. We can't change it. Murong Qingqing, on the other hand, sighed. To be honest, she was not worried about Lin Xian's safety. Instead, she was worried about the safety of the patriarch of the Murong family. This was because she had followed Lin Xian all this time. She knew about Lin Xian's strength and background. The 3 kings in the sky could not stop Lin Xian at all. Indeed, in the next moment, Lin Xian stopped in his tracks. Looking at the 3 kings of the Shen family in front of him, he said coldly, Are you really going to stop me? Kid, I admit that you are very powerful. However, you have no right to behave so atrociously in front of us. The patriarch of the Shin family snorted disdainfully. His expression was unusually cold. A terrifying aura was emitted from his body. This aura was much more terrifying than the patriarch of the Duan family who was burning his territory. From this, it could be seen that the patriarch of the Shin family was extremely powerful. Kid, let's not talk about the fact that you are no match for me. Just the number of kings on your side is not enough. Including old man Xian, you only have 2 people. However, we have 3. There is even the patriarch of the Duan family. 4 kings. Do you think you have a chance of winning? Young man, stop. The Murong family patriarch shook his head and sighed. The happy monarch also said coldly, if you continue fighting, you have no chance of winning. The patriarch of the Shin family looked ferocious. Kid, let go of the patriarch of the Duan family, and come back with me obediently. Otherwise, you will end up in a miserable state. Go back with you? Let go of the patriarch of the Duan family? Who do you think you are? How dare you order me around? Hearing the words of the patriarch of the Shin family, Lin Xian snorted disdainfully. What? You dare to resist? The patriarch of the Shin family was stunned. He could not believe his ears. He did not expect that Su Shusho would dare to resist. One had to know that they had an absolute advantage over Su Xiaoshu. Regardless of whether it was a one-on-one battle or the number of kings, they could easily crush Lin Xian. However, Su Xiaoshu still dared to scold him? Was he not afraid of death? The martial artists around them were also shocked. They understood the current situation. However, they did not expect Lin Xian to be so arrogant. He did not take the patriarch of the Shin family and the others seriously. Chapter 1457. It's over, it's over. Lin Xian is too arrogant. First, he defeated the Duan family's patriarch, and now he's fighting the Shin family's patriarch. Yeah, he's too arrogant. The Shin family's patriarch became a king a few hundred years ago. His strength is terrifying. How can that brat defeat him? Other than the Shin family's patriarch, there's also Patriarch Murong and the Happy King. That's 3 kings. Together with the Duan family's patriarch on the ground, that's 4 kings. Lin Xian, that brat, how dare he speak so arrogantly? Everyone was shocked. They all thought that Lin Xian was crazy. They didn't know where Lin Xian's confidence came from. In everyone's opinion, Lin Xian was really crazy. How dare he fight 3 kings? Wasn't he courting death? The Duan family's patriarch smiled sinisterly. Lin Xian still wanted to kill him. He deserved to die. However, Lin Xian had no chance. With the help of the Shin family's patriarch, he was absolutely safe. In the sky, the Shin family's patriarch smiled cruelly. Brat, since you're so stubborn, don't blame me for being impolite. As he spoke, he took a step forward. His aura suddenly exploded, and the entire sky surged. A huge beam of light gushed out from the Shin family's patriarch and pierced through the sky. A terrifying energy storm swept out in all directions. Opposite him, Din Xian's expression was solemn. He quickly said, Lin Xian, now's not the time to be stubborn. Leave with me quickly. If you're caught by them, you'll be in danger. The Shin family's patriarch is too sinister. He wants to know your secrets. Hearing that, Lin Xian frowned. He looked at the Shin family's patriarch with a murderous look in his eyes. How dare the Shin family's patriarch target him? He was really courting death. However, he didn't run away. Instead, he shook his head slightly. Don't worry, Din Xian. I have a way to deal with it. Din Xian wanted to say something, but Lin Xian waved his hand and said, Bruise along, 9-tailed, you two come here. Ha ha ha, after waiting for so long, Ben Wang is finally here. The Crimson Dragon laughed strangely. 9-tails jumped out of Murong Qingqing's arms and flew into the sky reluctantly. Everyone was stunned. They didn't understand what a fox and a 4-legged snake could do. Din Xian was also confused, but seeing Lin Xian's confident look, he didn't say anything. The patriarch of the Shin family sneered disdainfully. Brat, you really are an idiot. Do you really think that you can scare us with a fox and a four-legged snake? There was a look of disdain on his face as he said, Unless these two are King Tears, how are you going to defeat me? Hearing this, the Duan clan's ancestor coldly snorted in disdain. The surrounding Duan clan's cultivators all sneered. The fox and the snake were kings? How was that possible? Did he think that King Tears were cabbages that would appear whenever he wanted? However, the Crimson Dragon was displeased. Old man, I'll remember you. Ben Wan will teach you a lesson later. With that, he let out a long roar. Suddenly, a loud dragon roar resounded in all directions. Then, under the shocked gazes of the crowd, the Crimson Dragon's body burst out with a bright light. The 1-meter-long body quickly expanded and became a divine dragon that was hundreds of feet long. A red divine dragon appeared in the sky, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. It coiled around the clouds and spat out fog. Its expression was extremely ferocious. A terrifying aura was emitted from its body. Its aura was not any weaker than the patriarch of the Shin family. What? A divine dragon! A king! At this moment, everyone was stunned. They didn't expect that an unassuming four-legged snake would be a legendary divine dragon. And a King Tyr at that. This was too shocking. One had to know that this was a new King Tyr. How many kings were there in the Tianwu continent? Every time one of them appeared, it was an earth-shattering event. However, they never knew that another King Tyr divine dragon had appeared. And it was a divine dragon. It was even more mysterious. That was a legendary creature. On this continent, there were only flood dragons. A real dragon had never appeared before. But now, one had appeared. Everyone was in an uproar. They exclaimed in disbelief. Looking at the huge figure in the sky, they were extremely shocked. What? How is this possible? Below, the smile on the patriarch of the Duan family's face disappeared. His expression became abnormally ferocious. He didn't expect that the other party had really summoned another King Tyr, and it was a divine dragon. This wasn't good news for him. 3 against 3, their side didn't have much of an advantage. Din Xian was also shocked. As expected, the other party had recovered. As for the patriarch of the Shin family, Patriarch Murong, and the Happy King, they were extremely shocked. They didn't expect another King Tyr to appear. And it was a divine dragon. Especially the patriarch of the Shin family, his expression was extremely ugly. He had just mocked the other party, thinking that the other party was dead for sure and would definitely not be able to escape from their hands. But he didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, a King Tyr would appear on the other party's side. Now, the strength of both parties was almost the same. After all, the patriarch of the Duan family didn't have much combat strength now. But the patriarch of the Shin family was too naive. This was not the end. After the Crimson Dragon transformed, the nine-tailed fox snorted coldly, and then roared. Roar! The terrifying roar resounded through heaven and earth, bringing with it a strong murderous aura. In the next moment, the cute body suddenly expanded and turned into a red mountain-like giant beast. The 9 tails waved in the wind like a blood river, bringing with it a monstrous murderous aura. At this moment, the 9-tailed fox no longer looked cute. Instead, it was replaced by a ferocious look. What? Another King Tyr! Everyone's faces were pale and on the verge of collapse. This time Din Xian, the patriarch of the Duan family, and the patriarch of the Shin family, Patriarch Murong and the Happy King were all stunned. They didn't expect that another King Tyr would appear. That was too heaven-defying. When did so many kings appear in the Tianwu continent? Why didn't they know about it? Especially the patriarch of the Shin family and the patriarch of the Duan family. Their faces were terrifyingly gloomy. The patriarch of the Duan family was in despair. It was over. He had just grasped the straw of hope, but now he had fallen into the endless abyss again. There were 4 kings on the other side, and they had already surpassed them. With the strength of the patriarch of the Shin family and the others, they might not be able to stop them. Now that he was seriously injured, he couldn't defeat the kings. He didn't expect that he would die in the end. Patriarch Murong and the Happy King were shocked. They didn't expect that the other side had really found two kings. As for the patriarch of the Shen family, his body was trembling, and his teeth were about to shatter. It was a slap in the face, a ruthless slap in the face. And it was swollen. Thinking of what he had said before, the patriarch of the Shen family wished he could kill himself. Lin Xian looked at the patriarch of the Shen family with a mocking expression. He stared coldly at the patriarch of the Shen family and said, "Why? Do you still want to fight now?" The other side dared to compete with him in terms of the number of kings? They were courting death. Chapter 1458. Below, the ninth elder and the others were stunned. They did not expect that their young master had two other kings by his side. As for Murong Qingqing, she sighed. Sure enough, what she did not want to see had happened. But fortunately, from the looks of it, there shouldn't be a fight. Sure enough, Ancestor Murong and the Happy King quickly shook their heads. Young friend Lin, you misunderstood. We have no intention of fighting. Since this is a matter between you and the Duan family, we will not interfere. After saying that, the two of them turned into rainbows and flew toward the ground. You two old men! Damn you! Seeing that Ancestor Murong and the Happy King had retreated, the Shen family's ancestor stomped his feet in anger. His expression was ugly. He was alone now. Even with the Duan family's ancestor on the ground, they were not a match for the other party. In the end, he could only grit his teeth and say, "Young man, you win! I admit defeat this time." The Shen family's ancestor could only swallow his anger and leave with his tail between his legs. Humph! Lin Xian snorted. To be honest, when he knew that the other party was targeting him, he really wanted to attack the Shen family's ancestor. However, he also knew that this was something that was not very likely. After all, the Shen family's ancestor was different from the Duan family's ancestor. He had been a king for hundreds of years, and he had the House of Kings behind him. In addition to the situation in the Tianwu continent, if he attacked the Shen family's ancestor, Ancestor Murong and the Happy King would definitely come to help. At that time, there would be a great battle between kings, and the Tianwu continent would be plunged into misery and suffering. This was not the result he wanted. However, the current situation was just right. He had displayed his powerful strength and intimidated the Shen family's ancestor and the others. They would definitely not dare to attack him again. After doing all this, Lin Xian turned his gaze and looked down again. He stared at the Duan family's ancestor. The change in the sky was beyond everyone's expectations. No one had expected Lin Xian to summon two king tiers in an instant, which gave him an absolute advantage. Even the three kings of the Shen family had no choice but to retreat. This was simply too shocking. It should be known that the patriarch of the Shen family, Patriarch Murong, and the Happy King were all kings who had been famous for a long time. Their strength far surpassed the patriarch of the Duan family. Even so, they still retreated in front of Lin Xian. It could be said that in an instant, Lin Xian's prestige had reached its peak. When the Duan clan's patriarch was enveloped by Lin Xian's gaze, his body suddenly trembled as a hint of despair appeared in his eyes. He knew that it was hopeless. Even the three patriarchs of the Shen family had retreated. No one would stand up for him. Furthermore, what made him feel even more despair was that Lin Xian had three kings by his side. No one in the martial heaven continent could resist such a powerful force. The Duan family was probably finished. When he thought of this, a trace of viciousness appeared in the eyes of the Duan clan's patriarch. Since he was going to die anyway, he might as well drag the enemy down with him. In the next moment, the Duan clan's patriarch raised his head to the sky and laughed. His voice was abnormally sinister. "Brat, I didn't expect you to have such strength. However, it's impossible for me to surrender just like that. If I can't have it, you can forget about it." Soon, the golden domain around the Duan clan's patriarch started burning again. The originally dim golden mist instantly exploded with a resplendent radiance. Not only that, but the Duan clan's patriarch's body was also burning with golden flames. His entire body was emitting an extremely terrifying aura. Not good, he's going to self-destruct. Seeing this scene, Din Xian's expression changed drastically. What? Self-destruct? Hearing this, the surrounding martial artists' eyes were filled with despair. The self-destruction of a king was definitely enough to destroy the entire palace of gods of war. And they would not be able to escape at all. Damn it, how could this be? Lunatic, the Duan clan's patriarch is a lunatic. No! Patriarch, don't self-destruct. At this moment, everyone was shouting crazily. If the Duan clan's patriarch self-destructed, they would not be able to escape at all. They would only be buried with him. As for the Shin family's patriarch, Patriarch Murong, and the happy monarch, their faces darkened. They did not expect the Duan clan's patriarch to really go crazy and want to self-destruct. If the Duan clan's patriarch self-destructed, even if they were afraid, they would only be able to protect a small portion of their people. Damn that lunatic Duan! This time, even the Shin family's patriarch gritted his teeth. Lin Xian's eyes narrowed, and a powerful aura exploded from his body. He let out a long roar and instantly raised his combat strength to the maximum. The great dragon sword soul instantly appeared in his hand. Not only that, but a ball of blue aura appeared on the dragon-shaped sword shadow. This was the power of the divine sea weapon. In the next moment, Lin Xian waved his arm and slashed forward. Suddenly, a shocking dragon-shaped sword chi flew out. This dragon-shaped sword chi was extremely terrifying. It was hundreds of feet long, and there were blue patterns on its surface. It emitted an extremely terrifying icy aura. Everywhere it passed, the entire sky was frozen. What kind of icy aura is this? It's so terrifying. At this moment, even Patriarch Murong, the happy monarch, and Din Xian were shocked. Because this cold chi was really too terrifying, even they felt a sense of trepidation. Not only that, but the sharp sword light also made their eyelids twitch. This was because they realized that Lin Xian's current strength was even more terrifying than before. ***, how powerful is this kid's combat strength? Why does it feel like there's no upper limit? The kings gasped in shock. The Duan clan's patriarch's heart also skipped a beat. In the next moment, he gritted his teeth and his body suddenly expanded like a rubber ball. In an instant, he became the size of a house. That terrifying power spread out, causing terrifying cracks to appear in the void around him. Ha ha, die! The Duan clan's patriarch went crazy and was about to self-destruct. However, in the next moment, a sword light instantly slashed across his body. What? This is impossible! This was the last thought in the Duan clan's patriarch's mind. Then, his body froze in the air. A line of blood appeared on his body. Then, the golden domain, including the Duan clan's patriarch's body, was split in half from the middle. Otherwise, the dancing golden flames on the golden domain would have frozen in an instant. The entire golden domain, including the Duan clan's patriarch's body, was completely covered in blue ice, turning into an ice sculpture. Everyone was stunned. After a long time, they finally let out a cry of surprise. This sword was too terrifying. It directly killed the Duan clan's patriarch. Not only that, but it also split the golden domain and completely froze the burning golden flames. It successfully stopped the Duan clan's patriarch from exploding. Patriarch Murong and the others were also shocked. This was because they might not have been able to control the Duan clan's patriarch so quickly. However, what they could not do was easily done by a young man in his 20s. This made their scalps tingle. Chapter 1459. Even Ancestor Murong and the rest were shocked. Because even if they took action, they might not be able to control the Duan family's ancestors so quickly. However, what they could not do was easily done by a young man in his 20s. This made their scalps tingle. Following the formation of the blue ice sculpture, It also indicated that the Duan family's ancestor was completely dead. Everyone was stunned and could not believe it. This was the first king they knew had fallen in battle. Indeed, other than the ancient times, there had not been a king who had fallen in battle in the past few thousand years. And this Duan family's ancestor was the first. Dead! The ancestor is dead! How is this possible? The Duan family's warriors were in despair as they all knelt on the ground. They could not believe that their ancestor would die. He was a king. He was the pillar of their family. But now, he had been killed. The others also had complicated expressions. A few months ago, the Duan family had risen like a shooting star and became the new House of Kings. It could be said that a storm had been stirred up in the Tianwu continent. At that time, countless factions, families, and sects had all submitted to the Duan family. But who would have thought that in less than half a year, the Duan family's ancestor would be killed? And the Duan family's experts had suffered countless casualties. Now, it could be said that they had fallen. I'm not dreaming, am I? A king died in front of my eyes? Heavens, this Duan family had just become the House of Kings not long ago, right? And they were beaten down. I'm afraid they won't be able to recover in this lifetime. This Lin Xian is too powerful. Everyone was shocked. And Lin Xian stood in the air, his voice cold. The Duan family killed my Palace of War's warriors and seized the Palace of War's residents. Unforgivable. I really can't think of any reason to spare you. At the end, his voice gradually became sharp. With a wave of his hand, countless black flames surged out and covered the sky and earth. Immediately, the Duan family's warriors were all burned to ashes. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked again and sucked in a breath of cold air. It's over, it's really over. This time, the Duan family's experts were all killed. Everyone looked at the young figure in the sky and their bodies trembled. There was no other way, this method was too fierce. At this moment, everyone swore in their hearts that from now on, even if they were beaten to death, they would not provoke Lin Xian. Below, Elder Jiao and the rest of the Palace of War cheered. Excited, they were too excited. During this period of time, they had been suppressed by the Duan family. Many of their friends and fellow disciples had even been killed by the Duan family. It could be said that they fell into despair. And now, they had finally turned the tables. The Duan clan's patriarch had been killed, and the Duan clan had become history. It was impossible for them to contend against them. And the one who had created this miracle was their young master, Lin Xian. Lin Xian had destroyed the Duan family's patriarch and the entire Duan family in an extremely valiant manner. This seen Duan families of Murong. For a moment, the entire valley was silent. No one dared to speak. Even the kings were silent. Tu's to the families. Tu's kings, its Lin Xian also descended from the sky and landed on the ground. The crimson dragon's body swayed and shrunk again. On the other side, Nine-Tailed also turned into her cute form and jumped back into Murong Qingqing's arms. Although the crimson dragon and Nine-Tailed shrunk again, no one dared to underestimate them this time. These were two kings. They were the strongest overlords of the continent. Including Lin Xian, there were 3 kings. The Palace of War was going to defy the heavens. However, the Murong family was also overjoyed. This nine-tailed fox seemed to be Murong Qingqing's. In other words, it was equivalent to the Murong clan gaining another ruler. Thinking of this, the Murong family's warriors were excited. Even Ancestor Murong was astonished. After Lin Xian landed, he scanned the surroundings. Soon, he stared at the Divine Bird Palace's people. Immediately, the Divine Bird Palace's warriors trembled. Especially the palace master of the Divine Bird Palace. His face became ugly. This was the god of death. Even the Duan family's ancestor was killed, let alone their Divine Bird Palace. I remember that it was your Divine Bird Palace and the Duan family who joined forces to suppress me. Right. How do you plan to settle this account? Lin Xian asked coldly. Hearing this, the elders of the Divine Bird Palace were so scared that they peed their pants. The palace master of the Divine Bird Palace was also worried and was about to cry. He was very annoyed. He kicked those elders to death. Why did he have to show off? Now, he provoked this god of death. The palace master of the Divine Bird Palace was a decisive person. He knew that the whole Divine Bird Palace together could not defeat Lin Xian. Therefore, he decisively threw out the few elders who had provoked him earlier. Young Master Lin, the previous matter was just these guys who acted on their own. Our Divine Bird Palace has nothing to do with the Duan family. The palace master of the Divine Bird Palace quickly explained, afraid that Lin Xian would be angry. Nothing to do with them? Hearing this, the corners of everyone's mouth twitched. Everyone knew the relationship between the Divine Bird Palace and the Duan family, but the Divine Bird Palace still dared to say so. Lin Xian also sneered, but his main enemy was the Duan family. The other forces were mainly deterred. Therefore, Lin Xian did not do anything to the Divine Bird Palace. However, the few elders who had spoken out to provoke him were all slapped into a bloody mist by him. Bang, 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 bang. 5 or 6 elders instantly split open and turned into clouds of bloody mist. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned again. The elders of the Shen family trembled all over and almost knelt on the ground. One must know that they were also involved in suppressing Lin Xian earlier. However, they still resisted the urge to make a sound. Because they still had hope in their hearts. In their view, they were different from the Divine Bird Palace. They were the elders of the Shen family and had a king behind them. Moreover, the ancestor of the Shen family was here. No matter how strong the other party was, he would not dare to touch them in front of landlord Xinjia. However, in the next moment, Lin Xian turned his head and looked at the warriors of the Shen family. You guys, get over here and die! What? The elders of the Shen family were stunned. How dare the other party attack them? How dare he? Was he not afraid of angering the ancestor of the Shen family? Sure enough, in the next moment, the ancestor of the Shen family looked gloomy. Boy, don't go too far. Too far? You don't see it. Lin Xian sneered. If someone scolded you in public, would you be indifferent? I didn't chase after your entire Shen family. I only targeted those who spoke arrogantly. That's already giving you face. If you stop me, don't blame me for starting a war with the entire Shen family. Lin Xian snorted. You! Hearing this, the ancestor of the Shen family trembled with anger. His face was terrifyingly dark. This was too hateful. A little brat actually dared to contradict him in public? How reckless! You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.